2022, 7 p.m. Members present: Warren Frost, Zach Gastelum, Ty Taylor, Ron Lamb, Linda Weinbar, and George. You're going to be here for tonight. So, with that being said, we're going to move right into that appointment of the new council member, and I don't know that we got any committee appointments actually other than George's, but so I guess I'd open the floor up to the appointment.
I would move to, if you're looking for a motion, I move to appoint George Little Creek to serve a 4-year term on the city council. Oh, it'd be a 2-year, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. He'd just be finishing out this 2 years, sorry.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion? Okay, I'd like to take a roll call vote.
Lauren? Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Sorry. Aye.
With all,
Remember to use your microphones.
with all voting aye, motion carries. Congratulations, you're part of the city council.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to serve.
Okay, you got anything to say, or?
A lot to take in. I'm pretty excited to be able to be part of it. Stanley's a great community, and it's going to be nice to be able to help in a bigger capacity.
Great. Okay, with that, I guess we'll have the minutes.
Lynn, were there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Sorry.
Bear with me a moment. Other than the correction I sent you yesterday, which would have been on the portion of approving the previous minutes, I had put June 7th. It should have actually been July 7th. So I already did make that correction and sent you guys the corrected version.
Okay, are there any other corrections?
A motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes by Lauren,
Second.
second by Ty. Any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Opposed, same sign. Okay, next on the agenda, we're gonna have the planning and zoning recommendations. Welcome, Todd. I should have welcomed everybody that came also, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, council members, we had our regular meeting yesterday. Our first order of business was a mobile food permit from Marina Garcia and Anna Villarreal. They wanted to be on the agenda, but they didn't get all their paperwork in. So we just pushed it off till next month, and hopefully they'll have all their permits, license, registration on their vehicle. There's a long list and they didn't complete any of them, pretty much. So we just shoved that off. So our next order of business was a variance permit. Raven Fallon would like to put a 2018 mobile home in Frontier Village. The lot is owned by Fred Evans. Fred agreed to have it on his property. Because it's more than 2 years old, they needed a variance. So we voted to grant them a variance to allow the mobile home in the city limits.
Okay,
They need to vote to Lynn? Yes.
Yes, they do.
okay, can we get a motion on that?
That motion to approve the variance for mobile home.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign.
Our next order of business was Lee Swenson came with wanting a variance for a 6-foot privacy fence in his property line. In the regulation book, it states that you have to start 2 feet off the sidewalk, go 2 feet 6 inches tall to the front of your home, or a reasonable amount. Mr. Swenson wanted to go 6 feet the entire distance. He was not interested in cutting it down to 4 feet, which we've done in the past. He wanted 6 the whole way, so after discussion with him that he would not change his mind, motion was made to deny his variance permit, and it passed, a denial of his variance.
Okay, is there any, well, first we get a motion, I guess. I get a motion to, well, there should be discussion first on this before we have a motion, because that's going to determine the motion.
Yes.
So, let's open this up for discussion.
It's not a corner lot.
No, it's not. It's not a corner lot. It's in the middle of the lot, or middle of the block. And, but the book states 2.5 feet tall for all purposes. The last one we did, they came in and asked for a 4-foot tall fence instead of 2'6", and we granted that 20 feet back. So instead of going all the way to the front of their home, they only had to go 20 feet from the sidewalk.
I
At 4,
think if they're staying off of, they have 2 feet that you have to stay back of city easement, I don't see why we wouldn't grant that. Their property, they're paying taxes on it. It's not directly in front of their house, so it's not a problem for officers approaching or anything like that. A nice fence, I mean, they pay taxes on it. I don't see a reason to not approve it.
I disagree. Being in the position I'm in, we have to follow a consistent ruling. And because the book says 2 feet and 6 inches, we were being very generous at going to 4 feet
Well,
tall.
I'm hoping to see a change to the book then, because
That will not, that portion wasn't changed in the book. To 4 feet tall,
the 4 feet tall.
not 6 feet. And with the retaining wall on this property, we felt that was not, the neighbor would have, if he put a 6-foot fence in, they would be at least 8 feet or plus tall on the neighbor's side with the retaining wall. And so our commission voted no.
Is it a safety concern as far as streets, vehicles coming down the streets and seeing around it, or?
Not necessarily, it's just a fact of aesthetics. And if you start allowing the 6-foot fence on the side, what's gonna come in the front? What are people gonna want now in the front? And the last one got done this way, so we just stayed with this one. It was kind of our gut feeling and our desire to go to the 4 feet instead of 6 feet. And he said, okay, he said, I just won't put it in. I'll let my hedge grow back up instead.
Well, do you see any difference between a hedge or
Yes,
trees that are
yes.
6 foot tall and?
I do, because a hedge or a tree is greenery. It can be trimmed and cut at any time by anybody. A fence cannot. If you put up a permanent vinyl fence, you cannot go in and trim it.
I just think I rode my bike here today, so I was riding my bike across, and on the way, everybody who does their shrubbery right up to the street doesn't keep it trimmed, so here I have to duck or get hit in the face by it. I would rather see a fence than shrubbery hanging over the edge.
Yes, definitely, but not a 6-foot tall fence to the curb,
Well, it wouldn't
or
technically be
to
to
the
the curb,
sidewalk,
it would
to the
be,
sidewalk, excuse me.
Any other discussion on this?
I guess I agree with Todd on this. I mean, we've got ordinances and we do grant some variances once in a while. But if you don't start sticking to the ordinances, we're gonna have mass whatever around this town. It's kind of like zoning. If you don't have your zoning placed, then you're gonna have industrial sitting right in the middle of a neighborhood. So I guess I agree with Todd. If it's states in the ordinance and the height is 4 feet, then it's 4 feet. So,
And you say that's 4 feet back to the house, Todd?
That's what the book says. Actually, our current book today says 2 feet and 6 inches tall from the sidewalk to the front of your home. We were going to give him 4 feet tall, 20 feet back. So it would be,
Not
Nope.
to the front of his house.
It would
He
not
would
go
still
to-
have 6 foot in the front yard, but it would not, it would just be 4 feet from like the sidewalk back some distance so that you did not see basically an 8 foot tall fence.
I
right
guess I
next to the
feel that's,
sidewalk.
personally, I mean, I guess I feel that's being pretty fair, the 4 foot. You're only 2 foot less than what the primary fence is gonna be, and I think it would look good, and it's my opinion.
You think the 4 foot or what would look good?
The 4 foot, the first 20 feet back toward the house, I mean,
Just so I can visualize, I just want to make sure. So it'd be 4 foot facing Main Street. Make the corners go back.
no,
no, it's
Nope.
4 foot on the sides, right?
just the sides. There's no fence in the front of the house. This is only on the side.
Okay, so he's just
One
one side of the
side.
sides.
Yes,
Gotcha,
one,
okay.
one side.
Oh, that's the only spot. I thought he was doing the whole house. Yep, okay, just right there.
Did he give any reasons why he wanted to go the full 6 foot?
He wanted
No.
privacy. That's the only excuse he gave us was privacy.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. The fence that we're talking about that Todd is referring to that we previously approved, that you guys approved, is Bill and Lil Myers fence. So
Okay.
they have that fence that runs down between their property and the property to the south of them.
Yeah,
He's 2 feet off the curb, or I'm sorry, off the sidewalk. It's 4 feet tall fence, solid, so for partial privacy for 20 feet. And then it changes to a 6 foot. It's roughly 10 or 15 feet from where that 4 foot changes to 6 foot before you get to the front of his house. But it gives enough, if you guys drive by Bill and Lil's every day, you see that there's enough where the 4 foot is adequate before it goes up to the 6 foot for privacy. So that is the house that he's referring to that you guys previously approved. And it does look nice that way. And that there's no retaining wall there.
I guess I'll stay with what I said. I feel it's,
Now, and then the reason for the denial was because Mr. Swenson was not going to change to the 4 foot tall. Instead of granting a 4 foot tall and the 20 feet, he said, no, I will not do that. So that's why we denied it, because there was no sense to approve anything if he wasn't going to change his mind. So that was the reason for the denial.
anybody else have any comments on this? And you guys back there are welcome to comment as well, so. Any comments? Okay, can I get a motion one way or the other?
I'll make a motion to approve planning and zoning's denial of the fence.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second
Second.
to deny, or deny their permit, so, all in favor, well, let's do a roll call vote on it.
Lauren?
No.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
All right,
George?
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. 4 ayes, 1 nay. So that motion carries.
Our next order of business was a conditional use permit. Quality Water Systems, Wade and Kurt Trulson came before us to get a permit to suck water out of the Little Knife Reservoir south of town. It's, on our part, it's pretty much a formality. Everything's been approved through the State Water Commission. And it's for industrial use water, mostly for in the oil field. And we have these permits come before us every so often. There is one already on the Little Knife south of town, but they're not pumping any water. To do this, we set a public hearing. So we set a public hearing for our next meeting. With the public hearing now, they have to send out registered letters to the adjoining property owners. And it has to be published in the paper. And then at this public hearing, if anybody has a yes or a no saying for it, then we listen to all those and take that into account. If there's water issues with them, with the whole scenario, it's up to the Water Commission, the State Water Commission, to shut them down. So if for some reason the water fluctuates down so low, below a certain level, the state shuts them down. If there's no problems, they can pump their limited
I guess
quantity.
that would be my question is, how much do they plan to pump there?
I did not read that close enough and remember the number. Maybe Amanda can look it up and tell us.
That'd be an important thing, I think. I'd hate to see that level dropped really low right now.
We don't have rates water
in the
state to determine that.
It looks like it is figured into the conditions though, where it discusses the water level elevation, where it gets to less than 2,154.8 feet. So I'm assuming they're like in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, more or less, but the
This-
governance is still by the State Water Commission, right?
And it's 7,000 gallons per minute is what they're allowed to do. And it is regulated by the state. So if the state deems that the water level is getting too low, the state revokes their permit
Okay.
until it gets to that 200 acre feet.
Well, I guess until you have your public hearing, there's really nothing to,
Now, there's one other what-if scenario in this too. What if they don't get a contract to supply water to any source? As in the permit that's already been granted to the other water pumper, he hasn't sucked a gallon of water out yet. He has not won a contract to supply water. And that could easily happen in the Trulsons too. You just never know who's going to win the contract from the oil companies to supply the water.
I guess at that point, that permit would be dated and stated on there that,
This is for a 1 year time frame that they have this permit from the day we grant, that we vote on it. This
Okay.
permit is good to suck the water out for 1 year.
well, until you have your public hearing, there's really no point for us to.
No, and some of
even
this
make
I was telling, there's some new ones on here that have never been through this, so I just thought I would throw a little information in there so you guys would understand what we're dealing with.
Okay.
This one they don't vote on. No. With that, that was our last order of business last
Okay.
evening.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions or anything before I go? Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. P and Z Administrator Report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. As you can see, we have quite a few building permits still. You will notice that we do have the new pool and bathhouse for the park board. Also, something to mention, because I have had a few phone calls since the building permit has been approved. that new ag building for Pamela Nelson. There has been some concerns that she is building on the road. I just want to clarify that the property was properly surveyed. The temporary kind of road that they're talking about takes it from the BNSF right away onto First Avenue. That is actually her private property. Years ago, apparently the city and the public started using that as a cut across, and the city actually put up a yield sign right there. But because of the survey, it has been deemed that it is her private property. So I have been fielding phone calls about that. So if you guys get any calls, you can either send them my way or answer in the same that I have been. Other than that, do have a couple demo permits, a sign, and then a couple of these special event mobile food permits that they had for Crazy Days last Thursday. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I don't have any questions on it. I looked through them and does anybody else have any questions? If not, can I get a motion to approve the building permits?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Lauren, second by Ty. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Wagner Construction Capital Improvement Project.
On the street reconstruction project. And I'm bringing to the council a request for compensation for unforeseen cost escalations with fuel. I think we handed out a packet that details the costs that we are incurring that were unforeseen at the bid date. Basically, it was the war in the Ukraine that has pushed oil prices and the cost of our main fuel, diesel number 2, to almost double. It's also been a hardship for our truckers. Our trucking contracts were with Mr. Sam Friddle for $110 an hour. He's not been able to keep up with the trucking at that rate. So we are asking for him as well to compensate him to a $135 rate, which is kind of the going rate with the fuel escalation. So I was just here to answer any other questions or anything you may have.
Does anybody have any questions for Tim?
Well, I guess the only thing after I was looking through this is like when we're looking at the cost of death that's added on there and everything, it's purchases all out of Minot. And I really wish it was local. It'd be so much easier to want to just be gung ho about it. But all of them are out of Minot. It doesn't look like anybody fueled up at all here locally, even though they're working here.
I think
purchasing the DEF and everything like that. So it's,
we may have, this is the cost for our construction equipment mainly, which we do have a contract with the Magic City Oil. So I think that's who most of this is through.
yep.
And which they're happen to be based out of Minot. So they do come and fuel our equipment.
Any other
The
questions?
trucking increase, yeah, I'm not real sure where all the truckers get their fuel.
Yes, just kind of one of the questions I have is like, when a bid is a bid. So at what point is the onus on the bidder and then on the biddee? And me not, I've never really worked in that line of work. A bid is what we went to the taxpayers with and said, this is what it's going to cost. So now we're going to go back and say, well, we're just kidding. So like, are there, is there, and this may be time to educate me, is this a normal thing that happens where, whoops, we undershot our bid, whether unforeseen or not? Where is that the taxpayer's obligation or problem that happened? And that's where, like, I'm sitting here going, the bid's a bid, but now also
In some
educate.
cases, what we're quoting here is a act of force majeure, which is a pandemic that we just went through. If something like that were to occur, act of terrorism or an act of war. And we're actually citing the war in the Ukraine as the cost for, or the cause for this price escalation.
The problem being, everybody back there is seeing increases in their expenses and costs as well. And there's no way to redeem them either. I mean, we're all kind of in this together, and I guess I don't agree with when it's a bid, it's a bid. You're putting your neck out there, but it's, that's the chance you take when you bid a job. Are there any other comments
I
or
kind
questions?
of see the same thing that, you were saying, Ty, it's hard because in some instances I see things like we'll do change orders for things that don't seem like they're so specific, but I feel like this has hit everybody. And so it's hard not being in construction to know and see that, but then also thinking there has to be room in a bid to make up for at least a portion of increases like that. So is that whole portion actually, nothing was figured in for a cost of fuel increase at all? I mean, there was no fluctuation that was given when it's looking at that. And I know costs have gone up and I can see a small number, but that's,
A small percentage would be, but
Yep.
I mean, the fuel prices actually went up 100%. There would be no way that we would.
and I mean, I know
Double
we
our
all
cost.
definitely saw it. It's
Yeah.
just, how can I justify spending all of their money when they're paying the same upcharge? And I can't turn around and say that, I can't give them back now. I'm gonna say I'm gonna take more from your levy and give it to them.
Mhm. It's very understandable, and one of the people that I'm arguing for is Mr. Friddle, who's a local person. We were able to contract with him for our aggregates and our trucking, and he is almost unable to supply the trucking because of the cost that he was locked into with the contract, and we're here trying to help him out as well as not locking him into the contract because we know there is a big cost escalation on his part.
Well, concern I'd have is that this opens the door to much larger costs. I think this isn't applying anything for asphalt or future fuel costs. I don't think we want to open that door.
I guess I feel the same way. But are there any other comments or?
I don't want to see small companies, be put out of business because they're working for free. That's not what I'm looking for. It's just a larger chunk for such a small amount of time. So we have how many more months going on? I know that the prices come back down some,
The fuel prices are starting to decline.
which is a little better, but I don't know, it's kind of a fine line for me.
Well, like Zach said, we're setting a precedence if we do it. And anybody that's working for us could claim the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to wrap my head around is what is the right thing? Obviously, I get it. Nobody could force a doubling in fuel. We can argue as to whether or not that was the Ukraine thing all night long, but inevitably it did happen. We're here. So what is the right thing to do? Because I understand this is a hard spot to be in too. Is this going to jeopardize finishing our project? Even though, like I said, a bid is a bid in my opinion, but then you actually have to stand back and look too. So, that's the discussion I'm looking for. What is the right thing to do?
One of the fortunate things that we did have was we were able to purchase all the materials and secure all the materials for this contract and get it done. A lot of the contracts that are being let and bid now come with the clause in there that if we can get the material, we can do the job. A lot of the supply chain has suffered, and it's been difficult for a lot of contractors to finish their contracts. And they are also using a force majeure argument that I can't finish my project because the pandemic and the war and this has hurt the supply chain, and I'm not able to get the materials to complete the project. We are fortunate that we were able to secure all the materials, and our project is actually on schedule.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I mean, I can understand the issues out there with the materials and even the fuel. I still got to say, I just don't think we want to go down that road. I don't know that we need a motion on this right now. I mean, because it's a request, but
I would be interested if Jordan has any input, because this contract actually doesn't have a force majeure clause in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a new thing, to me anyway. And that obviously is a thing, and I don't know what legal rights they have to it, but
Yeah, I think the other thing is at least from my perspective, I haven't done a ton of research on this, on whether the force majeure clause would apply to, wars in other countries. From my understanding of the general provision is that it generally would be applicable as a result of a war that the United States is part of, and creates a situation where contractual obligations couldn't be fulfilled for certain reasons. But at the end of the day, it's going to be my perspective up to the council on whether they're going to want to grant the request or maybe even consider a partial grant of the request as it relates to the business owner performing these services and the project as a whole. If you're looking for a specific legal opinion, if the contract does not have the provision in there, not that it couldn't be applied, it'd be more difficult to argument that it does apply. But I think also, in addition to the situation we're dealing with, could be even considered a stretch. Again, nonetheless, it kind of comes back, from my perspective, to more of a logical analysis of, are you going to give, partial or full relief to the request just based upon what's transpiring? And I know you guys are kind of stuck in the middle of the discussion on it. Not really sure which way to lean, but legally, I think I would recommend, or I would probably state that the city is on fairly decent, solid grounds.
if there's no more discussion, I will take a vote on this. Can I get a motion to, however you want to form your motion, I guess?
Just one more discussion on that. Will this jeopardize the project? That's a big thing I don't know, because I'm vehemently against changing the bid. I
Right.
absolutely, but if I'm looking at, does this get the contract, or does a force majeure, even though there's no clause, does that change the expectation that this will be done by the agreed upon date? Is there any of that red tape where this can affect our closing, or are they still on the hook for the date? It bid's a bid, right?
Right. This does not affect that.
I just would like a little more time to think on it and look into it. I don't know. I don't do construction. It's really hard to know. It's hard because that's their main livelihood, and it's the one thing that went up in cost so much, but it's also really hard to spend additional taxpayer dollars when we're already hurting enough, That's the hard part where I'm at. I don't want to hurt the small trucking companies either. I'm not there, but my obligation is to the people of Stanley, so.
Well, we can table this until the next meeting if that's what you'd like to do.
I would like to table it.
Okay,
I'm gonna make a motion to,
second to that?
I can second that.
Okay, everybody in favor of tabling this motion? Aye. Opposed, same. Okay, motion carries. We'll table it till the following meeting. Thank
Okay.
you for coming.
Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, the pursuit proposal.
Hello, how's it going tonight? My name is Nick. I'm the executive pastor at the Pursuit. So we've been in the community for about 4 years as a setup tear down facility. We usually meet at the elementary school. And back in December, we bought the old grocery store property with the intent of making it look nice and refurbishing the building. So we've been working with zoning and planning and you guys to put in our different variances for the things we need to get in place. And then recently we've gotten a demo permit and we're working on getting our building permit. But mostly we have a vision of trying to be a positive impact in the community. And in our research, one of the things that we learned is Montreal County is really hurting for daycare facilities. There's a lot of people, it seems like, in this county that want to work, but aren't able to because there is a need for more daycare facilities. And so as we're looking at this project, we're trying to meet the vision that we'd love to be able to also use a daycare in our facility. And working with Janine here, the licensor for this county, for the state, it looks like with our facility, we could get approved for not a full center, but a group childcare facility, which is 30 openings for people in the community. And so what we're doing is we're doing our due diligence now before we get into the project and start spending money to make sure when the time comes at the end, we'll have done everything right. So we're currently in the process of finalizing some plans that we're going to send to the fire inspection office in Minot to make sure they look at the fire codes to make sure we meet them. But one of the things that we uncovered is that we need to have an adequate indoor and outdoor play space for kids. And typically the licensing office is flexible. For example, if there was a playground a block away that was already there, they would let us utilize that. But what we're seeing is there's not many options in that part of the community. So we saw the property behind our building, which would be amazing, very convenient for us, but we also wanted to find a way to make a community impact with it. And so we put together a proposal just to see what you guys would say about the project. From our understanding, the city owns the lot that's there. We also previously this summer helped build the pergola that's in the lot right next to it of similar size, 2 over. And so what you guys have before you is just a proposal. I didn't leave a set action step because I figured something like this would be something you guys might want to discuss. And we're just looking for creative options to say yes to get this done. We don't have a set mindset where it has to happen one way. We want to come in with flexibility. And we just know that this is one of the pieces we're going to have to figure out at the end to get a yes from the state to get officially licensed. And so we're just trying to approach these roadblocks in a creative way and offer some community solutions.
So do you have any definite requests? I mean, specific requests for the city council?
I think a dream request would be if there was if we could buy the property somehow from the city so we could make it work to accomplish the vision we have.
Okay.
do you have to own it to be able to do what you're doing on it? I mean, is it required that you guys hold the ownership for the property if you?
No, not necessarily. We would be open to a partnership. And I think the challenge for us is if we need to make sure it's up to par and we would invest the money to get it there. If you own it, then you're in control to make sure you can meet the bar. So that's why we're starting there. But like I said, if it was a community playground and it was close by, the state licensing office has shown that they're flexible in that we could tap into it. So for example, if the city wanted to do that with that property, we could work that out with them. We're just looking for a solution to find that outdoor play space.
As I understand this, I mean, without a play space outside, and what is it like? I did a research, was it 75 foot per child or something like that? Like there's parameters for how much space you need for this. So like basically where you're at is to decide if you're gonna go ahead with the daycare or not. This is one of the things where like without this kind of thing, it's kind of dead on the water without.
Yeah,
a place.
we definitely have to figure out a solution. There are creative options in that the space we need does not have to be for all the kids at one time. They could be split into groups, so it could be a smaller space as long as we meet that threshold. It's something. So like I said, the licensing office is flexible. If you can find solutions, this is the best case solution that we've found so far. And so we wanted to offer it to you guys to see what your guys' thoughts were.
I think it's a great idea if it remains city property, though. I think that's the only way to keep it open to the whole community as one, just like the pergola instance. I think it's great and a great place for it to be, but I think that if we sold it off and say that you guys no longer want to be in Stanley, or the church shuts down and sells it, then anybody can come in and close off that space, or it's just a really great location on Main Street.
Yep.
So with it not being a for-profit, something that would bring in city taxes, I think that it would be, I would like to see it remain ownership with the city. Well, I don't know if it would be a lease type situation or something that, you know, you would still have control and
Yep.
be able to do what you want to it. But, and I'm not saying that you wouldn't keep true to the fact that it would be for the general public, but I would.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I think we would be open to multiple ways. You know, if we were to own it, we could have a clause in there that if it ever wasn't owned by us, it would go back to the city. That's one way to approach it. Another way to approach it is a lease arrangement of just figuring out how to make it what it needs to be to benefit everybody. So I think we would be open to any creative idea. Totally understand that. So I think we could, if it was something viable, I think we could work out the details to meet the community's needs in the best way. For us, we just know it's something we need to have, but we want to be for the community. It's not for our gain. We believe it's for the community gain. So something like that isn't just in the best interest of us. So we want to be flexible in making it work.
To meet your needs and the requirements, would it have to be fenced off? I mean, the way I'm thinking of it, it wouldn't really be multi-purpose. It would be basically just for.
It would be
The
fenced
daycare,
off,
but-
but then there would be open gates for access. The fencing is more for safety. So like a gate that wasn't locked, just to make sure there was safety in place.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I guess to me, this kind of looks like a piece of property that was sitting there doing nothing, and all of a sudden there's big demand for it because I believe there's someone else interested in this area as well. So I guess to be fair to everybody, I think, you know, it's the restaurant that's trying to open, which is a taxpayer as well, is looking at purchasing this for a green space dining area. So, like I said, to be fair to everybody, we've got the Pursuit looking at it. We have, what is it? Wilson Park Takeaway Cafe as well. Just because they're second on the agenda underneath them, doesn't mean they don't get a fair shot at it either. So,
I'm not saying we're gonna vote on anything. I don't know what the proposal is for the next one. I like the idea of the small spaces that we have left going to benefit the entire community in a sense. I like that idea. Not to say that I don't like the tax money that comes in from a restaurant either. I didn't realize that there's this much interest coming into this one. It's been sitting there for so long. Anything at this point would be better than what it is.
I think what I want truly, make sure of though, right, from my standpoint though, is if this is a potential, like one of the shortcomings is daycare. So if we can do something to satisfy the needs of the community and still get those 30 daycare spots. You know, because in an outright way, I mean, that's one of the Achilles heels. There's lots of families that have had to basically go to a one parent working to stay home and take care of kids. So like, I don't want to lose an opportunity, you know, because I mean, the Pursuit's going to build whether it happens or not. The church is going to be there. I think the question is whether or not they can get the provisions to where they can also utilize it so somebody can use a daycare during the days. Because I mean, daycares happen to operate the exact same days churches don't, it seems like, you know. So like, I love the idea of a multi-use facility. I don't want to lose the opportunity to have, you know, potentially 20 to 30 daycare places on a place that's here knocking on the door ready to do it. You know, I think with the pergola and stuff, there is some green space available, but I mean, I totally understand your reasoning too, Lauren, with, you know, having brick and mortar there, paying taxes, but then where's that trade-off for the amount of people, the growth Stanley could see by actually having a community where people have daycare?
Absolutely. Is it, you know, can somebody buy a sandwich and go sit down at the pergola that's already an open space for seating, and then have something available for, that's, you know, for everybody. It would be for everybody again. Another thing, which on Main Street, I don't know, I guess that we have to hear the other proposal.
I guess we need to hear the other proposal, but at the same time, I think we need more time to look into both of them
Oh, definitely.
and kind of weigh the pluses and minuses with both of them. I don't think, we're not prepared tonight to make a decision, so.
No, and I would say on our side, the way we wrote it was recognizing that was probably going to be the case, but also that we want to work with the community. And so we didn't want to come up with a set way it had to look. I think there are a lot of paths forward. You guys have shared some valid concerns that we understand too. We're for the community. We've been here for a while. We want to continue to be here. You know, on our project, we're partnering with a lot of local businesses that are doing subcontract work. We're getting our supplies locally. So hopefully that shows that we want to work with the community, and that's our goal is to make a positive impact on the community. And we're trying to do it the right way and work with you guys along the way to make sure we cross our T's and dot our I's the way we should.
And we appreciate you coming and putting this proposal in front of us. And I hate to say it, before the Wilson Park, people are allowed to get up, but I think we basically need this next month to really look into this thing and look at the pros and cons of all of it. And I think that'd be the fair thing to do for everybody.
I would like to actually see like solid written proposals, you know, that's more in depth to, this is exactly what it would look like if we had a space. This is what, like, I mean, I'm just looking at it, some that have some wonky trees in it. Like, I'd love to see your vision, because what I picture in my head is probably totally different than what you have, and the same for the next one. So without having that complete visual, I mean,
and I think from our end, you kind of just take steps of doing the right things to move forward. So zoning our building, getting our permits in place was the first steps. So if it was something that you guys are open to, I think that's definitely what we would do next. We just don't want to go there. If it's a no, then we got to come up with a different plan. So
If you were to come back next month with that plan, proposal, et cetera, would you be able to include how you would staff it? We've seen a lot of daycare stuff come through town in the last few years. And that seems to be the common denominator, is that it stays open for a while and then it can't staff it.
So the reason we're pursuing this from our perspective strategically is that because of the way the daycare will function, it doesn't need to make a profit to pay for its facility. And so we believe that we can actually pay people higher wages to hopefully keep good people. That would be our process for why we think we can make it work. That's one of our concerns as well. And just talking with Janine and some of the locals of staffing is one of the things that needs to be overcome. We do think we can provide a place because of the way we function where the daycare doesn't have to make all the profit to pay the facility use. That it actually helps us pay people a higher value And so that'll be part of our strategy.
Is the church gonna directly be doing the daycare, or is it something that you're gonna be renting the space to a private person to step in and do a daycare?
We haven't decided. We're leaving options open, knowing that we just want to make sure the space can be approved for it.
It just makes me nervous because we have, like you said, seen so many daycare people coming in and out and in and out. So it'd be really hard to not have, I guess, the church be the one to do that, knowing that, I don't know, if you were to be using that empty space, I would want to hold you responsible, not a separate, because you're the one proposing it.
Well, yes, and in complete fairness, it's our building too, so it's our responsibility. So
Yeah.
we feel that way no matter what.
But when it comes to like a public space,
Yeah,
more so that,
Yep.
because when we look at it, we don't want to say, well, you're renting to this person to get access for it. Like,
Yep.
do you have direct oversight?
So
over that?
ideally, in our Minot location, we're launching a preschool in January. And so our approach and how we're doing that is the person running the preschool is on our staff, and then the teachers will be hired through the actual preschool. And that's similar to the model we'd like to run here as far as the person in charge of the daycare. So the director of the daycare would be on our staff, and the daycare itself would hire the staff. That's how we like to do things. But we haven't fully put together the plan yet, just because we're trying to put all these pieces together to make sure that we can move forward in.
I think trying to move forward here, I think if you come back next month with a complete proposal, let us know what you're thinking, and it's gonna be the same. I'm gonna ask the same of the cafe.
Yep.
And it'll give us a chance to do a walkthrough over there on that thing and talk between council people and see what's best for
So
that.
when you guys say proposal, you want to say the plan plus a visual proposal?
Yeah, I'd like to see a visual proposal to see what all you're gonna have there and where you're gonna have your gates and give us a better idea of how it's gonna function, so. Okay,
Any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do like the idea where, you're worried about like what happens if they aren't here anymore, what happens to the space. I mean, I don't think that clause reverting back, or have something written in where it protects the footage for going back to the city. Like, is that something that's still palatable? I mean, like, I understand.
I would say from our end, kind of like what you guys saw with the pergola, is we would even invest to make it better and still be willing to give it back if it wasn't us anymore.
Yeah.
Because we would probably approach it as a project for people to give to. We would share the vision publicly, especially our people would want to support it. So that's how we would raise the funds to make it what we need to make it. We got to finish this building project first, but it'll tie into it. But that would be our approach. And then we would, just like we had people step up and help build the pergola, it'd be a similar approach we would take to get it to what it needed to be.
Yeah, I definitely think, though, I mean, the space, for the most part, I didn't know that space was even there. So now all of a sudden everybody's fighting over, I'm like, what, those 2 trees or something back there? Like, oh, there is. So like, I mean, I look at this as a huge win if we can provide a place where parents want to relocate to Stanley and they don't have to pick which parent goes to work. If there's viable daycare options, that is a golden nugget, that doesn't really just fall out of the sky too often, so.
yep. Well, let's try to move on. But I appreciate you coming, and we know what we got to do as far as our homework, and you know what you got to do as far as
Yep.
yours. So,
Okay, and so you guys want me to submit everything to the city hall and then come back next month?
yeah, I think you should.
Okay.
Thank you
guys.
for coming.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Wilson Park Takeaway Cafe proposal.
Hi, I'm Rachel Lonier. My husband Tom and our daughter Ryan here, we're all part of the LLC for the restaurant. I'd like to start by just saying we didn't actually just kind of come up with the idea. When we bought the building back in October of 21, we right away thought how great it would be to have that spot. But I mean, with everything we borrowed and the 2 grants we very graciously received, we're kind of all in right now. we're finally closer to opening. A lot more money and time has gone into this building than we ever thought. I mean, we learned, I mean, just as an aside, that, I mean, it never passed a fire or health inspection, so it was a money pit, big time. But anyway, what our vision, we had hoped to bring to the city, you know, later, and I wish we would have approached you sooner now, was to not just have an outdoor green space. Concrete is not a green space, by the way. Is to actually have, well, let's call it a 4-season room, an actual almost outdoor space. You know how Mohall has the dining greenhouse? Well, of course, it wouldn't be that big because it's not that big of a space, but that is what we're envisioning. Like right now, we can only seat just under 20 people because of one bathroom. And there just isn't the money right now to do the second one. There just isn't, because we have to, I mean, everything had to be brought up to code. So the extras just aren't happening right now. So yeah, that is what we were hoping to open and to start making money, because I know we will make money. It'll be a good place for the whole town. But, and that was what we wanted to do, expand the restaurant into that lot. It was Ryan's idea to grow some of the produce. And I like that idea as well. And that it would be an expansion that you'd use year round. It would, what we're envisioning is a large glassed area that would be heated, would be cooled, but you would have all that sunlight. That's what we're looking at. And including growing produce during the summer, of course. I guess in the back, we do a lot of the work on it at night. So, but if anybody's up there during the day, it's usually me. I mean, that alley is full. It is full of parking. The Circle Sanitation moved the dumpster over to that empty lot just for space. We didn't request that. Nobody requested that. And I called and asked them about it, and they said it's just easier there. But I mean, next to us, Greg Mortenson's building is a multi-use building. The alley is jammed with parking. If you go during the day, we usually park over towards the empty lot near the dumpsters because there's nowhere else to park. And I'm not complaining. We're not there during the day, so they don't know it's our parking spot. So I don't know, and I'm just wondering, also, to be truthful, I spent many years in daycare, but I'm not loving the idea of a playground on the other side of my wall. I don't mean that to sound harsh, but it's the truth. I mean, that is a busy alley, and you've got the Circle Sanitation coming through, you've got supply trucks. I'm just not seeing how that would be a good spot for a playground, period. Like how many years ago the city wouldn't let us, well, not us, let somebody put up apartment buildings across from the park because there's all these children playing. And I agree. But this is just kind of flipped, like putting a playground in where all this commercial business is and traffic. And plus, we really want the space for ourselves, I'm being honest. I know we have that huge need for daycare, and I'm just wondering about, I don't know, the rest of the property that the church has. I don't know who owns between the bowling alley and the grocery store, or even the parking lot space. And I know churches need it, but daycare goes during the week. So I don't know. I guess that's where we're at. We do not have any formal proposal, but if we need to get one, we will. And honestly, we don't have the money to do it right now. We just don't. We have to open and we need to get money coming in.
What's
So-
your timeframe on that?
Time frame on,
When you would be using that space?
as soon as we can get the money to do it. I mean, we would like to start looking at it next summer. I mean, if we were able to buy the space, we would actually plant on it next summer. And then as soon as we could build this new space, we would. I mean, it all takes money. And we borrowed nearly 200,000. Plus, I'll say our money, but it's what Tom's making right now, not me. I actually, yeah. So, and we're hoping, well, the plan is to be open by next month. We're finally that close. Doesn't look like it out front, but that's all cosmetic out there. That's stuff we can do quickly, but I guess that's where we're at. Was there anything I could answer, say better?
We have
By the way,
any-
I'm not for not having that church. I love that that church is downtown. It's nice to put that building to wonderful use.
Mr. Mayor, just to answer Rachel's question, the property between the bowling alley building and the church is owned by the bowling alley.
Right,
That whole space is. It is not owned by the church.
that's right.
Good to know.
Does anybody have any questions? Concerns?
I know that you don't have plans to do it now, but I would really like to see a proposal. Kind of the same nature, like even so that we can have a visual, what your steps would be. I know you said at first, if you could purchase it by next year, then would you, when I'm thinking planting, I'm thinking, are you trying to do like agricultural rows down there? Are you talking about, before you could
Garden,
build,
produce.
but is that something that's even,
We would like to build as soon as we can.
right?
But if financially we weren't able to by next summer, then we would definitely just put in a garden and use the produce fresh for the restaurant, yeah.
Well, we're not asking you for some, really fancy proposal, but we need a proposal submitted to us by next month.
Okay, we can do that.
So we can, or as soon as you can.
Mhm.
So we can look at that and go look at the property and space and
Okay.
make a decision.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I like where you're going. I could sit there and eat in front of plants all day long. I mean, I have them all over my house. I think that it's great space. I think it's nice for winter time. I know that a daycare couldn't utilize that space in the winter, where if you could put up a building, I can see that, but I just want to see something a little more, I guess, tangible
Yep.
in what your steps would be. And not that you have to have it, drawn out to scale, but just something that we can see and compare.
Okay, we can do that.
Well, we appreciate you coming and
Thank you.
giving us your proposal. So
Okay,
I don't mean to rush you,
I'm good. I'm good.
but
Okay, thank you.
Stanley Park District.
Chris Schneider, Stanley Park Board. We are doing a new pool. Everybody wanted. So it started, the demo started, the construction, they're waiting on the dirt work contractor out of Minot. And they will start doing the dirt work, and then the pool guys will be after that. We've had a lot of comments about funding, where the money's coming from. We do a lot of fundraising. Every time people think of Park Board, it's, can we have some money? We're doing fundraisers nonstop. The reasons the Park Board started this project is it's not getting any cheaper. And the old pool was going to be shut down by the health department. The water usage in there was just ridiculous. It was leaking, just leaching out into the ground, and it actually had to go out for bids a second time, and then it was awarded then. But we have looked at options for funding. We spoke with banks on loans. We're going to continue to do fundraising. And we're here tonight to see what the city would help us with as far as a loan or something of that sort.
The city's already committed
500,000.
500,000.
Yep.
Have you looked into any grants from the state?
Yep.
Because in that book we get, what's the name of that book we get every month? Huh? League of Cities. There was a new grant project in there what do they call it? Flicker tail something, or that fund they got down there?
Pothole. It's a very pothole.
Yeah, prairie dog something. They're looking to start handing out money on that.
Yeah, we actively search grants and apply for them. I
The
mean,
prairie dog one?
I can't.
I
tell
just
you.
read it in
applied for a prairie
this
dog
month's
Taxi
magazine.
applies for grants nonstop, but the problem we're running into is for grants, they want to see that the project has started. She just applied for the Horizon grant 3 times, 3 separate times, got denied all 3 times. We started the project, I applied for it, went to the meeting last week, and we got it. Because they want to see the projects are started. So we can apply for grants till we're blue in the face, and unfortunately, we haven't received any large ones. But now that the project has started, we will continuously apply for more, obviously. But we're also looking for things, funding, some help and assistance right now. We know since, 2 weeks ago, we've had two separate $5,000 donations. We're starting to get memorials coming in that people never thought to send to the park district. So funding will start coming in. We're not scared of that. But some commitments might be on a 3-year or 5-year. I know personally, I can't give $10,000 to the park district for a new pool. But could I over a 5-year period? Yes. But that doesn't help us for immediate costs. So we're looking at some avenues and some help and some assistance. Not necessarily a handout. We're not asking for that. We appreciate the $500,000 we have received. But we're looking at some other options.
Comments? I have one, I guess. I do believe it's the city of Stanley. And this is my opinion and only mine. But I do believe we are all elected, both the park board and the city council, by the city residents, and have an obligation to, do the best thing for the city. I do think a new pool, that pool's 70 years old, or just about 70 years old. And it definitely was due for changing. There's no question about that. The pipes are all rotten and the chemical situation there wasn't real safe. And so, but I just think for the betterment of the community, that pool is a valuable resource in Stanley.
We've heard numerous times and and I presented this the last time I was at the city council. Lots and lots of families are leaving the community to go to Tioga, to go to Williston, to go to Mina, to their splash pad and their pools, because they're facilities that people want to go to and utilize. And not just residents from those communities, but surrounding communities too. So if we can provide that here in town and keep people here, do their shopping, our tax dollars are gonna go up. It's not just a pool that we're offering them. We're offering them our whole community.
I can totally see what you're saying. I think that it's a valuable asset for everybody. But in my mind, I don't think that it benefits 100% of the people. In the sense being that I don't think everybody utilizes the pool. I know that it's huge for the kids in the summer, and I know that there's big parts there. But I think that $500,000 from the city is a nice chunk. So it's hard for me to say, I'm gonna give more tax money to that specific project. I don't want to see it left as a gaping hole because it's rough to drive by. And I've heard continual disappointment throughout this entire season that the pool wasn't open. I mean, we've had to direct plenty of people to you guys saying that, that's not our call or our decision, but I just can't justify a ton more money going towards this project with it being just taxpayer money, because it's already a really good lump sum. I want to see it progress, but to an extent on the taxpayers. I love the grants and the donations, and sometimes that takes time.
So if we waited 2 or 3 more years till we had the funds in pocket, we're not looking at a $4 million pool anymore. We're looking at 6 to 8. You guys just found out what fuel costs did in an 8-month period. So what's material gonna be and cost in 2 years when we have more funds to?
Well, and also like Lauren, your comment that it doesn't benefit everybody, I understand what you're saying. But you can make this, if you're my age, you can make the same argument about the school. You know, it doesn't benefit us for a lot of our tax money to go to the school, but I sure as heck don't mind seeing it go there. Because it is benefiting us in a bigger way. You know, it's.
And I definitely see that for a lot of people, but I'm looking at the people who are just hit with a lot of extra costs right now. We have a recession. We have people who are just trying to get by day to day. And now it's just hard to justify for those people who are living on their social security checks and doing that, saying, hey, we're going to take more for it to go to a pool that you will never utilize, even though we've given this much of your tax money already.
I'd be opposed to giving the money, but I wouldn't be opposed to a loan.
Can a park board take a loan? I mean, is that something?
A loan from the city, yes.
Okay. I could see a loan.
The city would have to set the parameters, obviously, whether it's a one-to-one match for whatever donations we bring in, the city matches, or a 0% interest for X amount of years, or 0.5%. We went to a bank, local bank, because we're trying to use local as much as we can, obviously. The local bank, you can't get anything under a 4%. Tara can elaborate a little bit more on that, because they put a proposal together from Bravera, just so we could see the numbers as to what we'd pay in interest rate. And it's crazy. I mean, no offense to the bank, but
Brandy?
Yeah.
How much are you guys at now?
for funds, we have 1.2 million right now.
What's the total
That's
cost?
without the 15,000 grant we just got last week and the 10,000 in 2 donations. And like I said, we had a memorial come in. You know, we're going to start seeing that stuff. But again, donations don't happen until people start seeing the project going. So yes, it is an eyesore to go by the pool and see an empty hole with filling with water. Granted, that's going to change next week. They're going to start moving some dirt. But really, you don't light a fire under people to donate either. When you just say, hey, this is our idea, you don't, unfortunately. And we're not, like I said, we're not opposed to, you know, loaning the money from an entity that has it to spare, and we pay it back over a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, whatever the parameters are. Because we do have funds. Ellen, you look like you want to say something.
And do it, Ellen.
Sorry, no, there's just a fly that keeps flying. Keeps driving me crazy.
Don't blame it on a
According to the
fly.
century code, we can increase our mills five mills, right? Annually if we need to. We don't want to do that. We really don't.
I'm on the pool committee and I kind of disagree. I'm kind of with Marley. I'm a parent. You don't see me in a swimsuit, a grandparent. And I think it benefits the whole community. Anybody with children, anybody with grandchildren, you need a pool. And if you don't have that pool, you're not going to have kids. My kids went over to Tioga this year, Newtown, every place. They used to come here and just shop uptown when they come. We used to go out to eat. We went to the Dairy Queen. It brings in a lot of business. Now, as far as the county, they have funding too, but they have different stipulations from loaning the money out. So they don't have the ability like the city. We're looking into it. So we try to work with our other entities. I don't know if you guys know, we put a lot of money into Stanley City's fire department. On the rural part, we bought all the radios. We put into the ambulance. We put into a lot of things because this is our community. And I think you guys really need to think of that long and hard, because if we don't have kids, we're not going to have a community. And I think it's really important that if you do have reserve funding, that you utilize it for something like this. They're not asking for the money, they're asking for a loan. And I'm pretty adamant about this project, as you can tell. So
Jones made every pool committee meeting.
and as far as prairie dog funding, that's prairie dog funding is for non-oil counties. We are oil county, so you won't get a dime of that. I'm pretty up on grants, so that isn't one of them that you can apply for. unless we become a non-oil county. And if we do, we're in trouble. So, yeah, just my 2 cents. Yep.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I do want to say, I am not by any means against the pool, obviously. I mean, my nieces go over there and they weren't a little upset this year. They didn't have a pool,
Yeah.
so.
And it is upsetting,
So-
but no matter what kind of construction you do,
Well,
a
exactly.
capital project like that, you're gonna lose the pool at least one summer. And it's unfortunate, but because of our construction time in North Dakota, it is what it is. So when we didn't get lifeguard applications and we were having trouble, I mean, just the prep time for the old pool, it takes a lot of work and a lot of money to get that thing up and running. Hence the reason we decided we had to do something. We had to pull the Band-Aid off and just do something, bite the bullet and take the plunge, I guess.
I mean, if we do provide a loan, as the grants come in, the grants can be paid back
Absolutely.
automatically to that loan,
Grants,
right?
donations,
Against
all of
that?
yes.
And, is that pool gonna be open next June?
So Rohr's Engineering is or Rohr's Construction, I guess, are the ones that have the bid. Their ideal, they're figuring mid-July next summer, but construction time could push that up and it could push it back. We don't know.
But this loan is gonna definitely have an impact
Absolutely.
on that, is what I'm saying.
Yes. Ideal seasonal construction time, if it's perfect, we have a late fall and an early spring. Yeah, it could definitely happen for all of next summer. We'd love to see it open all next summer.
Are you looking for a loan for the whole amount of
No,
what's remaining,
well-
or what are you looking for?
I mean, as the bills come in and we can kind of, again, you guys can set the parameters on that. We know that the donations and grants will start coming in. But if we need to pay a bill and we don't have all the funds right there in our account, we might need to ask for some of those funds.
But I mean, like, if you can ballpark me something, are you looking, how much is the total project?
Total project is 4.5 to 4.7 million.
4.5 to 4.7, and you have
Or
1.2?
4.2 or
4.2.
Yeah, they give you, they add contingencies and all of those fun things. So hopefully they won't have to ask for fuel costs later, but
I think if we do that, we set a parameter where we have like 2.5 million as far as that we loan them, but it's taken on draws as they need it.
Yeah.
Not
upfront.
not issue them $2.5 million.
Right.
So if they need a $50,000 or a $500,000 draw, that's what they get. That's what I'd kind of like to see. I think we're all in this game together. I think we're all people from Stanley. I think it's a great thing for the community. And I think the city could help with it. They're not asking for a gift, they're asking for a loan.
One of the things that I just feel like, obviously, my kids went to Newtown to go swimming last week. My kids love the pool. But I feel like the timing where it gets mothballed, it was going to open for a while and it wasn't, then it was going to potentially open. And then now we have a hole there. And I feel like that paints us into, we're the deal breakers now. Like we weren't really part of the conversation earlier. We gave $500,000. And now the conversation is, well, we knocked it in. And now it's like the ball's in our court. And we weren't part of the conversations, on the demo or
But
any
you
of
were,
this.
because we had pool committee meetings and you had two councilmen sitting on that committee. One of them has not showed up to one meeting. So you have been part of the conversation
Was the votes unanimous amongst the park board on all this?
on the project. No.
And what were the
We had one
reasonings?
nay and the rest were yay.
And I'm not anti-pool. I'm just like, boom, here it is. They need the money, But what was the?
And know that you're not our only option. You're our first option because you're the city and we're an entity of the city. You're not our only option. I mean, we have other avenues we can go to. We prefer not to. Just because we are a division of the city.
What was the discussion around the nay? To come to the city?
It shouldn't have been a nay, it should have abstained because it was a conflict of interest. It was me.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm just wondering if they.
And he
thought,
owns a
"No, it's
business."
better."
I own a business, they asked me to do the concrete. So and the demo, and it was not they, but the rowers did. So
And we
I
didn't know
should
that
have
as board members.
abstained.
This is the first I've heard
Yeah,
that.
I should have abstained, but I just voted no.
And something for a little reassurance, before we had Cassie as our rec director, the park board, year after year after year, operated in the red. And Elaine, you could go back to records and pull those possibly, for these guys to see that. And we don't operate in the red anymore. We operate in the black. Our main account has 862,000 in it. We have a pool account designated. We don't touch that for anything else. It's 108,000. That's minus the amounts that we've been given from you guys and whatnot. We have several other accounts with 6,000 in it for this. We have an Arts in the Park account for, I think maybe a balance of 6,000-ish right in there. So it's not like we're broke and we're operating nonprofit as in the red or anything like that. So it's not a matter of we can't pay back funds. And we're not afraid to fundraise. I think you've seen that.
Can I make a motion?
Mayor, if I can make one more comment before you do. I just want to, if you're thinking of the taxpayers of your city, don't forget if they don't get a low interest loan, we will be paying more money. Because you take a loan out through the bank, it's going to be double the interest and it'll be a longer period, more, so it's going to be, and either way, they're probably going to have to raise some taxes for this pool regardless. So in order to make a loan payment, you got to have something to make a loan payment with. And they have 3 major sources of funding, which is your taxes and your sales tax. And you have one more too, and I can't even think what it is because I don't have it in front of me. So take that into consideration too. As a taxpayer, we're going to be taxed more. And yes, it does affect that elderly person that's on a fixed income. But if they're under a certain amount, they can get a homestead credit. They can get 80%, 100%, 60% of their taxes paid. It's better to put it on I shouldn't say better to put it on their tax bill, but it's better to put it there than on water and sewer because they don't get a homestead credit on water and sewer. They get homestead credit on their tax bill. And that's a benefit to your elderly and also veterans. They have a veterans credit too for those. But and I'm not speaking for everybody, but I welcome an increase if we can have a pool. So just me.
Thanks.
I guess it's no secret that the pool's been a little bit of frustration for me this summer. I've got 2 little girls who are pretty upset about the pool. I live a block away from there, but in the end, I do think we do need a pool. I agree with that. I don't agree with funding it for the park board, but I do agree with giving a loan. So I guess I would make a motion that we ask them to bring back what they need officially next month in total funding loan-wise, that we could then make a motion to decide what to do.
Okay.
Does that make
Are you
sense?
making that in the form of a motion or are you just a recommendation?
I guess it would be a recommendation then.
Okay, and I'm good with that.
I think Zach had some discussion.
Zach?
Yeah.
I just, honestly, like the comment that, doesn't benefit everybody, but it really does. Like that pool has been unusable for everybody forever. That baby pool closed, I don't know how many years ago. Like, my daycare went there forever until it closed. I have my oldest and my youngest who's 4. You need a splash pad, and I cannot wait to get a splash pad. And like, what else do we pay tax money for but to improve our talent? We need that pool and we need a splash pad.
Thanks for your comment. Zach?
Just to echo kind of the same thing, we need a pool. I think we literally will lose families from town if we don't have it. And I think maybe the mistake we made years ago was not realizing that the magnitude of the project is what it is. It was probably always going to need, not to discount the fundraising because you guys do a great job. But I don't know if we'll ever get there just on that alone.
No,
And the longer we wait, the more it costs. So if we
When we
just gotta
initially
get past it and fund it because we need it.
When we initially started the work on this and getting the first numbers from the engineering company, they told us 3.6 to 3.8 million. And within a year's time, maybe 14 months, it was up another million almost. So what would it be like in another year? So,
Well, I think the old one served us well. I'm probably the only one in the room, I guess, that, remembers when it pretty much opened, but that was a long time ago. And that thing was jam-packed with kids all summer long.
and I think we could get there.
And I think we could be there again. I think it's a good thing for the city.
Yeah, I'm definitely not against the pool project, not at all. It's just it's a lot of money, and I get that. But the point being, the longer we wait, the more expensive it gets. So inevitably, we're gonna look at the open hole and pay more for it versus figuring out a path out of this then. I mean, that's what I'm hearing. That's what I think everybody's thinking. So I mean, to roadblock it, it's gonna cost us more money in the long run with less usable time.
So you'll be
Not
back
anti-pool.
next month with what you need?
My question on that though, are we burning up daylight that they need now to get rolling on it if we push it to
But
next
we
month?
still have funds right now.
And that's what I really like.
In a month, will they say, hey, we need a down payment of X for this material so we can pre-order it? They already asked us about the brick for the building because they want to get it, make sure they have it in stock for us. So,
I don't think we're at a lot of risk because if we set it up on a draw format, you're never
Yeah.
taking more than you need anyway. Plus you have to pay it back, so you're not gonna want to have more than you need, so.
So can I change my recommendation then to a motion to give the
Can I
park
say
board
something
a
first?
loan?
Can you do it contingent on, up to X amount of dollars, and we will give you that information of what it costs, of what we're looking for?
You mean our motion or what are you? what are
Your
you asking?
motion, I mean,
Okay.
up to, because with what we have now, that you could do up to, and then just make contingent upon us giving you the documentation of what we need
Yeah.
Right.
to save time.
Well, I think basically handle it like a pay request. If you have $500,000 come in for materials, I think handle it like a pay request and turn it into the city. You guys have a problem with that?
What I would like to have from the park board is, and I'm assuming 0% makes the most sense, but the term as far as what you can afford to
Right.
pay and how many years you need to pay it back, we should get some more information on that, I think.
and I think that would it obviously is going to make a difference on how much it is. And we won't really know that until we're done, until all the donations and the grants and things like that come in.
But you do other things
Yep,
and have to fund them as well, and we know
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
So you're not gonna be able to make a payment per se put this on 5 years or some short term like that, because it's not feasible.
and a lot of our income also fluctuates as the oil revenue comes in and things like that. So Cassie's better at that than myself, as far as the numbers go, but, yeah, I guess it would definitely depend on the amount that we loan from you as to the payment we're going to be making and how long of a period of time we need.
Okay.
I don't know how to word that anymore.
Well, it's really hard to word, but I think if we say, right now, a limit of 2.5 or something like that, that's my number. But,
I think they would need 3 is the
well,
difference
3,
where
okay.
they're at.
I'm fine with that as long as you make the thing. No.
All right, I will make a motion to approve a loan up to $3 million to the park board contingent upon review of loan parameters.
Very good.
I think that's a great.
I'll second that.
All right. We better do a roll call on this one.
Yeah.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you guys for coming.
Can all breathe now. Take a deep breath.
Okay, Stanley Commercial Club request. Anybody here from Stanley Commercial Club? Don't run out the door, Joan. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, anybody here from the,
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
I'd step down as the president officially as of today. So
Okay.
they didn't have anybody here to cover.
can you give us
I
the,
can give you the footnotes. It's the Grapes and Grains, which is a combination of the Wine Walk and Beer Fest that they do every year. And the request is to close the road next to the leader to do an actual street dance.
Yep.
Kind of the way it used to be forever ago. The leader would then use their liquor license, I believe, for that area, and then I don't know who they put in for the liquor license request on the rest of the event, but this request is just to close the road so they can have the street dance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
They're not looking for any money or anything. It's just the road.
Road closure.
Okay.
Okay, is that it for the Stanley Commercial Club request?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, dangerous buildings, Schmeech and Greenstone. Thank you.
Again, I don't know, I
Jordan
missed,
Everett here.
yeah, Jordan's gonna start. I'll just help any way I can.
Okay.
Okay. So, last month we had some discussion on the dangerous buildings, zone, and,
I can't hear.
Jordan, could
I
you
can't
speak
hear.
up?
can you hear me any better now?
A little,
Still having a hard time hearing me?
yes.
Somewhat, yes.
I'm gonna hang up and I'm gonna try calling back in.
Hang up and drive here.
I can hear you guys fine.
Yeah.
Give me a minute, I'll try call back in at the number, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Hearing aid would probably help, but.
Yeah, you can't shut it off. Ellen said you. I think part of the problem is the audio. If you're not basically shouting into the phone when you're on in through the conference call, it's impossible to hear. He said he was gonna call back. We should hear him. Come on. There we go.
Can you guys hear me any better now?
Jordan,
Yell into your
Go ahead.
phone.
Yeah, Jordan, if you could just talk as loud as you possibly can into your phone, that would be great.
Okay, last month we had talked a little bit about these two dangerous buildings. I'm gonna start with Greenstone. I have prepared a couple resolutions for the council to consider. I'm gonna give a little bit of a background on what's transpired. There was a finding in December of 21 with relation to Greenstone property. It was concluded that it was a dangerous building, and there's various written findings that were adopted by the council at that time. The building is located at 131 Prairie Drive, 121 Prairie Drive, 101 Prairie Drive, and 11 Prairie Drive were determined to be dangerous buildings. It mandated that the property owners do several things which included staying current on real estate taxes, real property taxes, pulling building permits, remedy the deficiencies in the structures, provide updated reports to the city pertaining to work being completed on these buildings, and after 180 days, if the property was not in compliance with all applicable codes and ordinances, the city would order it to be demolished or repaired by the city of Stanley. So after that, after those findings were adopted, the city of Stanley approved the settlement agreement, which was never fully executed by the parties. And based upon discussion at last council meeting, it was determined that the city of Stanley would be making a determination on how to move forward tonight. So I guess it'd be up to the council as to what you guys are wanting to do. I had prepared a draft resolution, assuming you're going to move forward with demolition of the building. And the only other items I would like to discuss is, approving that resolution with some additional findings, which would include failure to keep property taxes current and not in arrears, failure to provide updated reports to the city, and failure to pull any building permit. With that, does the council have any questions for me in relation to the Greenstone properties that I can answer for you?
Jordan, this is Linda Weinbar. So with this resolution and what you discussed of adding to as the findings, if we adopt this resolution, we can tear them down?
Yes, the resolution would essentially state that you're moving to demolish the buildings, and then you would be asking or instructing building official and city auditor bids for the demolition of the structures or buildings located at these properties.
Well, we've been dealing with this for what, over 8 years now? And it's, they're a sorry sight. They're awful. They are dangerous buildings.
So is this deemed city property now?
No,
No,
no, it would just give the city the ability to call for demo. We would pay for the demo and then put it back on their taxes.
So they still own
They
the
would
property?
still own the property, yes, sir, but we would demolish the buildings and return to grade.
I'm sure everybody's been by and seen them.
Right.
Oh,
And
it's an eyesore.
Jordan did ask me to let you guys know, when he mentioned unpaid taxes, we're looking at roughly $115,000 that has not been paid. That's 3 years in arrears. That does not include the current taxes for 2022.
Okay, can this be added to the taxes, this demolition?
Yes, sir. They have a way to do it through, I say they, I'm not pointing at you, Lauren, I mean, Ellen. They have a way to do it through, I believe, special, it's not like a special assessment, it's just you add it to the tax bill. Ellen can describe that better.
It would be along the same sense of certifying like an annual special assessment payment, but obviously it would be not necessarily a special assessment, but it's the same process. So it's added to their property taxes,
So
just
this-
as we do with our special assessments.
So the city would fit the bill and then it would be assessed to the property. So we would get that money at some point.
Okay. So to make it clear, it's basically, we adopt this resolution and vote on it and it passes, we can go out and do the demolition.
You can call, you can ask, in the back page of that resolution, it says that you can ask that myself and Alin, as the building official and the city auditor, to call for bids. We would then go through the bid process, bring that information
Right.
to you once the bids, et cetera, just like, you know,
Exactly,
anybody.
but I mean, we're open then to
Yes, sir.
demolish this. Is there any more discussion on this? Because
I have just a little, if I can. What is this piece of paper now? Like, are they grasping now at the 11th hour, like the Hail Mary? And is
Yeah.
there any snow, you know, is there a chance that this would come to fruition? Or do we move in with the process of getting the demo stuff? And if they beat us to the punch kind of deal? Because I mean, we're never gonna get that money back out of this. You know what I mean? If they're already 3 years in arrears, we're gonna stack another 50K, I'm sure, whatever. I don't know what the demo permits will be, but
That's what we have an attorney for, to go after money.
Hey, Jordan, the paper that Mr. Taylor is, that Ty Taylor, sorry, not to be confused with Stephen Taylor of the email. The paper that Ty is referring to is that email from Stephen Taylor. And he's wanting to know if they have any chance of coming back against us.
Well, there'd always be a possibility to appeal the city council decision. But as I indicated to Amanda earlier today, we would obviously be providing them notice of this decision. We'd be providing them notice as well as, you know, the request for bid or demolition of these buildings. We would also provide them notice of the cost, so on and so forth throughout this process. But would they have an ability to initiate a lawsuit against the city? I can't say they wouldn't. I mean, whether that's going to be a valid lawsuit is a different question, right? I think that the city would be well within their rights to move forward into municipal ordinance with the demolition, given the history of property owners' failure to comply with these findings over the years of not being able to get this structure completed. So, could they sue the city? The answer is yes. More important question to me is how valid of a lawsuit would it be? I don't think it'd be very. I think the city's on a pretty firm foundation, but you know, we would have to deal with some of that as it goes forward. But as the process would move forward, if demolition would be sought by the city council, we would continue to just provide them with all the notices as we possibly can, so that, you know, they can't say they weren't notified or didn't have any idea this stuff was coming as it relates to demolition.
Again, this is Linda Weinbart. You know, this email that they sent. Now, in our first agreement with, I believe when the gentleman came up here, the agreement was both buildings were going to get taken care of.
Yes, ma'am.
Not one at a time,
No, ma'am.
both buildings. Here he's referring to the building, the 12-plex, and the 9-plex is, so you're gonna have the 9-plex with the falling down roof, and you're gonna have people occupying the 12-plex? Really?
That's
I
what
don't
it kind of
think-
seems like. I know I specifically asked you guys, does that mean all construction or no occupancy?
It was all
And I believe you guys
construction.
said yes.
I think we
Both
screwed
buildings
around
would
with
have
this
to be
one.
finished.
Yeah, I'm tired of it.
I think those taxpayers up there are really hurting. I think we're destroying their property values by
We
leaving
get
them.
Absolutely.
complaints all the
I
time.
don't think there's any, I don't think that they've shown anything that will prove that they have anything to complete that project in any time frame that would be reasonable. They
No.
haven't complied with anything. It's been sitting there. They're 3 years back on taxes. I mean, I would motion to approve
Approve the resolution.
the resolution so
I'll
that the
second
buildings
it.
can be torn down.
All right, Linda seconded it. Roll, well, any other further discussion? I better
May I
ask,
ask a question there?
speak up.
Ask a quick question. Is that including those additional comments, your motion, including
Absolutely.
those additional comments that I made?
Yes, including the additional comments.
I do, just to hear more discussion. We should have did this months ago. I'm playing
Could've done it
devil's
years ago.
advocate, okay? Is there any snowball's chance in Hades that this will right the ship? Does he have a way out to fix this, or are we just wasting more damn time?
Jordan,
He's just wasting more time, in my opinion. It's
think so.
8 years.
Right,
years
and
and he
just,
hasn't
my
done
only point of
anything.
view is if I could get them to pay for it and do it this, I'd rather do that.
they're not
than-
going to.
But
Nope.
Well, and Jordan and I had that discussion earlier that he's going to keep them apprised of all of the things that we're doing when we're calling for demo, when we're doing all of those things. That way they have no way to say, we didn't know what the city was doing.
Yep.
Because it is more than likely going to end up in court. If we follow the way that we've been doing and continue to follow the rules, Jordan has all the evidence that he needs to prove that the city has done everything that we're supposed to. We've bent over backwards. You guys have given them more than enough time, and they have done nothing.
Mhm.
So it sets us into a very good spot. And you're right, the property owners out there are disgusted by that. And it does affect their property values out there.
Yeah, and just kind of one more follow-up question for me, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm with you here. This is the way I process things. If we move this resolution of the written findings and move on with the recommendations as stated, and all of a sudden, they win the lottery and they drop a half of whatever it's gonna take, and they all of a sudden can start fixing the project, do we reserve the right to say, hang on, they can do this if they, or is it,
You can
like,
start over.
I don't think you should allow it. I mean, if you guys want to take
No.
a tour.
I'm
of those-
just curious, so I understand. how
If you
it
guys
works.
want to take a tour of those buildings, I mean, that one bigger building looks great from the outside, but believe me, looks are deceiving. It's bad. It's very bad. I was just in there a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, because they had an appraiser come up kind of as a last ditch effort that's my opinion. It's got worse since we were there in March. To right now. And March was when we did the structural engineer inspection and the health inspection.
Yep.
Last July was when I did my actual inspection.
Yep.
It
And
just
just the only
continues to get
reason
worse.
I'm so hesitant, I'm not hesitant, but the reason I'm asking the question is, this is gonna be, we're not gonna recoup this money.
You
Yeah, we
can, if they,
Yeah, we
if
will.
they eventually, if they let it go on taxes, the county takes it, and then the county has processes in place to recoup at least part of that money. Well, here's the thing, honestly. Does
At
it
some point, you
become,
still have to do something.
does it become about the money, about recouping all the money, or does it become about fixing something in our community that really needs to be taken care of?
Well, it's dangerous.
Yep, I just
It's
wanted
very
the extra
dangerous.
discussion, guys.
Yep.
They're very dangerous
I'm not afraid of
buildings.
the,
I'm not gonna go walk through them.
Is any other discussion on this? There's a motion on the table right now.
question.
And a second by Linda.
Okay. Lynn,
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
okay, motion carries, the resolution is approved. Moving on.
We've got one more resolution, correct?
Jordan, if you want to go ahead on the next one.
Yeah, am I saying the individual's name right? Is it the Schmies?
Schmies,
Property?
yes. And if you could speak as loud as you can.
Yep. So again, we're dealing with the dangerous building circumstance with the Schmies property. In February of 2022, the city council held a hearing on this matter. The property is located at 109 First Avenue Southeast in Stanley. City council at that time concluded that it was a dangerous building and made similar findings as we just discussed in the Greenstone property. A settlement offer was also presented to this property owner, but was never executed. We are in the exact same situation with the Schmies property as we are with the Greenstone property, and in that the city would have the ability to make a conclusion based upon February 2022 written findings about whether, they would demolish the building or repair it. And, the resolution mirrors the Greenstone one that we just discussed, in the sense that the city council would be concluding that they would be demolishing the property and asking Amanda and Alin to go out and seek bids for the demolition of this property. And I would also include similar provisions as far as violation of the written findings as it relates to property taxes and failure to provide monthly progress reports to the city as it relates to the February 2022 findings. And again, the cost of the demolition or repair will be assessed to the property. Whether that ends up satisfying the cost to demolish will be determined at a later date. Probably not, but in essence, it would still be subject to imposing those costs onto the property. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Amanda, just for reference, this is the blue one with the big hole in the foundation.
Yes, yes, kitty corner from the old post office, gray house, green roof.
Didn't they redo most of the outside of that? I'm not overly aware of the issue and it doesn't appear from the outside to be.
So years ago, they redid, I don't know how many years ago, 10 plus maybe. They redid the inside and the outside. Unfortunately, the south wall of the house, the foundation, part of it has already collapsed. There's another part on the southeast corner that is collapsing. It's very hard to see because there is a fence that kind of runs between that and the neighbor's property. Inside, and I can show you pictures and such that I had shown the council previously. Everything is kind of listing towards that way. You can definitely see the settling in the house, and it's just in general poor condition. There's a lot of feces and stuff in there, and it's just hasn't been taken care of. I don't think they've had water in there since.
Nobody's living in there though.
No, I think it's like April of 19 or I think that's what it is, April of 2019. But it is one of those ones that it looks very deceiving because the outside of the house looks like it's just got an overgrown lawn. But the inside is definitely in very bad shape.
I guess I don't want to vote on it until I see some pictures, just because I don't want to say demolish somebody's property unless I know 100%, but that's just where I personally am at.
I guess, well, I have seen the pictures, and if you want to go take a little walk, just go walk between the fence and the house. We'll see in a week.
I've seen it
It's-
also, and it's
It's
terrible.
not good.
It's bad.
It's a danger.
You wouldn't fix that.
No, you would fix it by tearing it down. That's the only way you would be able to fix it.
Yes.
Supported by weirdness in the basement.
Yes, yes. So what they did was they did some very haphazard interior walls within the basement to try to get the house to stop leaning. So they used, I think, everything they could, including like table legs and things that are actually round that are not actually going to hold anything, because part of the joists are actually missing.
What month was this on? I could pull up pictures quick, I think.
I know that
Remember?
you guys deemed it dangerous in February. Yeah, January, February. Let me grab my phone.
I was here for that council meeting, and saw the pictures, and it's a Volkswagen size hole inside of the
I'm
house.
not disagreeing in any way, shape, or form. I just personally cannot vote on that without seeing it when it's somebody's, property.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
it's
they're
really
also
bad.
2 years behind on taxes. There's nobody living there. He lives out of town. He has not taken care of the property. I have to tag it multiple times a year to get them to mow it. He ignores that. I have to hire somebody every year to mow the grass. And by mow it, I mean like 80%, because it is really bad. We do not actively go after properties that people are living in. These are dilapidated, abandoned properties within the community, and that was what the city council had charged myself and our city attorney staff with doing, would be to rectify these dangerous buildings.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to adopt this resolution for the Schmies House.
Is there a second to that?
What?
She's studying real quick.
Oh, shoot, you got them for? Okay. I was gonna say I just found them.
With the extra, did he have extra provisions on this?
I'm sorry.
Did he have extra provisions on this as well?
Yes, he
Yeah.
did. Jordan can.
I did.
Include that in my motion.
Okay, is there a second to Linda's motion?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, so we'll give Lauren another minute, but to take a look at this thing and
Okay.
okay, we got the motion on the table. All in favor of this resolution, and I would like Lynn to.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries for the resolution.
I'll work with Jordan and see how we need to get calls for bids and all of that good stuff and bring it to you guys as soon as possible. Thank
I'd
you.
really like to see Jordan at our meetings, if we could. Can you hear me, Jordan?
Make that me too.
Yeah, I can hear you. We're running into a conflict with city commission meetings here in Williston. My wife attends those. So that starts at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. Your guys' meeting starts at 7 o'clock. And between that and our children, we have a really tough time juggling these council and commission meeting nights, which is why I haven't been appearing in person. So maybe we can have some more discussions on that after this council meeting.
Yeah, it's really difficult for some of us to hear you on the phone, and besides, I'd rather talk to you in person. So
I
try your
agree.
best. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Amanda. Next up is Bros Engineering. Donovan? And can we gear this a little bit different, Donovan? Yeah. They've been sitting a long time, and I think they actually do need to. Besides, I've only got about 15 minutes left in me, and I'm gonna have to go back to the boys' room here, so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. With that being said, I'll jump down to Country Estates. So the Country Estates bid opening was last week, Thursday, I believe. There's a 45-day hold on it, because I had a feeling that might be a discussion for 2 council meetings. So those bids actually expire September 18th. I attached the bid tab and the low bidders in the packet. J-Mac out of Williston was the apparent low. I did contact them because they were $100,000 less than any of the other ones. Just to verify that they didn't mess something up or they still wanted the job. Courtney with J-Mac got back to me today and she said they went over it. They're good with it. I asked, would they want to try to start it this year? And she said that they would, if they could get the materials. I don't think they can get the materials. And it all just depends on materials and when they would get the go-ahead, if they got the go-ahead. So the State Water Commission meeting is this Thursday, the 11th. That's when they will hold and award the money for the grants. You'll know that day at that meeting. Contract completion date was in September of next year. JMAC bid the job to do boring. Anything else you want to know about that?
Well, yeah, I guess that's the total bid. What's, from the contractor, what's the total bid with engineering, everything in it?
So we had 5% for contingencies of construction, just for construction issues out in the field. That was another 17 grand. Another 1% of construction for your legal bond and admin. That's another 35 grand or 3,500. The design was roughly 48,000. I just threw in 12% for construction. We haven't put no hours together. We haven't seen their schedule. That's another 44. So you're looking at an estimated total for the entire thing is 470. So I got I built this little spreadsheet here. If anyone wants to see what it looks like, doesn't look like. So Chad, Mr. Hishlin, and maybe some of the other council members were talking about, well, what if the city paid for 100% of that loop line on the north end? So I figured in that cost. JMAC bid that at roughly $49,000. That includes, the boring, your fittings, your connections to the existing main, your seeding, your mulching, your topsoil, your removing fence to get inside your bore pits. That's everything that is that north stretch, 49,000. So you assume that the city's going to pay 100% of that 49,000. So then you get down to, and you assume that the State Water Commission is going to pay the full 60% of all of the eligible costs. That's design engineering, construction, admin costs, advertising. So now you're down to $151,000 roughly of trying to figure out who's going to pay for what. Okay, so you assume that 100% of that is going to go to the landowners getting special assessed. So that's roughly $14,000 per landowner. You put that, I don't know what your interest rates are, what the city charges. 30 years, 2%. That's roughly 18,500.
Okay.
Are we looking at to like motion for an approval on a bid, or is this just a report on it, or what's happening with this?
This, I guess, what all I'm asking for from the council today is, I guess, to make a decision on if they want to award that bid to the low bidder, reject and deny all bids, or move this topic to the next council meeting to make that decision.
Will our next council meeting be in time for that?
Yep, September 18th is when the bids expire. So your next council meeting puts you probably, I'm guessing, September, yeah.
But no, I was talking about the state, them having to know.
So they're not just, if they award the money, they're not just gonna send you a check for that. You're gonna have to draw
right.
the funds. Yeah, I think they'd be fine with it. Now, the sooner that they know, the better, because they have this money tied in. But that can all be discussed at their meeting on Thursday. We did it how they ideally want it, meaning we hold the bids before their meeting. That's not always happens. So sometimes they have their meeting and they award based on estimated, not bid costs. So yeah, I think that if you decided at the September meeting, I would believe that the State Water Commission would be all right with that.
Well, and the possibility is we can have a special meeting if we need to.
Yeah, or a special meeting.
You know,
I think we should hold a special meeting for this. I think there's a lot that goes around with the taxpayers out there. You know, they were told one thing, the city brought to them something different. I know Rose Engineering quoted something, and I know it was the one before you, but I think that there's a lot of tension in there. I think that they annexed into the city under conditions that would have been beneficial, and then we turned around and tried to double it. I think that people would look at losing their homes out there, not being able to afford them due to the specials that we put on, under the assumption that we told them that it would not be that way, and then we're gonna turn around and I don't wanna see people out of their homes. And I think that there's a lot for the council to discuss on that. And I don't think that it's something that we can make a decision without giving the opportunity for the people that live out there to come to a special meeting. I'd like you to be there for that meeting, to go over all the bids. I think that the council needs to decide on, I don't know how we can make that right with the taxpayers. We're also hitting them with a pretty fine bill for them not to get any of the other things that the rest of us taxpayer benefit from, which is lights and sewage and everything like that they're paying taxes on, and they're paying more than what they paid with the county. So I would like to motion this to turn into a special meeting at a later day.
okay, is there a second to that? George? I thought you had something on your mind there.
And I'll just say, like,
I wasn't.
I'm just assuming all these numbers of what everyone's gonna pay for. I'm not part of the special assessment committee.
No, I understand that, but some of those are fixed cost.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be a fixed cost.
Yep.
So that is gonna be fairly close to what it is. Unless it's higher, it certainly ain't gonna be lower than that.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's definitely not gonna go down in price.
No. So,
But it's an annex situation. It's not like these are people where, you know, it's like a improvement project. Like they came into the city to pay city taxes for it to be beneficial. And I just, it's too hard to say yes on that if I don't want to put that on top of what we already charged them for sewer, because it doesn't seem right after we came to them with something. So I think that we should hold a meeting and allow them to be present and discuss the cost of it and realistically what the city is willing to take on. And I don't know, maybe the lawyer find out like after if they were quoted one thing, I mean, to an instant, if somebody becomes liable to having to pay the difference on that.
Well, this has been going on for what, 3 years?
3 years at least.
So
Probably 4.
obviously prices change.
Yeah, I'm Jesse, one of the landowners out there. I just want to speak for the rest of the group that's out there. Everybody has texted me today, and there's one person that said they would agree to it. The rest, everybody said no. But at the same time, we don't want to reject it because we don't want any more engineering costs involved in it. So, and all of us feel that what we were told when this whole thing started 3 years ago, we've already paid that. And for us to all take more expense on top of that, I just think it's ridiculous. And so we're asking for, I agree with the city, a special meeting, so we can all have our say in it.
Yeah, everybody's been assessed out in that area $27,000.
Just
Plus they
to-
did their own hookups
Right.
to their individual houses. So,
I think had we known this, we'd have never agreed to annexing.
no one would have.
Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, is this anything we can move on tonight too, or do you guys want the special meeting?
Well, I
You know.
think if we do a special, I think that they're gonna need it one way or another, but I think that I also, I mean, if they have water at the same time, I don't wanna sit there and say, you're gonna get hit with these specials. So it's too hard. I don't wanna say absolutely yes, go ahead with the bids and then turn around and hit them with that much on top of what they already paid.
The basic question is the city gonna cover it?
I guess that's
The
what it comes
people
down
have
to.
paid $25,000 like everyone was told out there. all of them want water. They were promised water and sewer, and they were told $25,000.
Right.
And we've paid $27,000. I being one of them. I mean, I'll make that public. We paid $27,000 plus hooking up our homes to the sewer. That was on us. So you're probably looking at getting closer to $30,000 when you figure our properties we also had to put money into our property after the sewer project. So we've already paid $5,000 more than what was anticipated or promised. And if the city wanted to decide to pay for it tonight, take care of it like they said they should, if they decided to do that, then it could go forward.
When were you guys thinking on a special meeting?
Well,
In the next couple weeks, probably, if we can get everybody together for a certain time.
I'd say 2 weeks would be.
Yeah, sooner than later.
We can shoot for like the 23rd, August 23rd.
It'd be nice to have that and only that on the agenda, basically.
I do need to make one comment. Obviously, they will be doing interviews for the police chief as well as interviews for the part-time office assistant. So I guess if we're gonna have a special meeting, it'd be nice to also take care of those as well. Because we had already discussed that we would probably have a special meeting for those.
Yeah, the
So-
police chief interviews tomorrow at tomorrow at 1.
Those should be very, very fast.
Yeah, and we could do those two before. They could be the first thing on the agenda then. But I don't want to stretch the agenda out and get a bunch of things on there.
And the quicker we clean it up, better anyway.
Yeah. So,
So as far as this project goes,
Yeah.
I have to, oh, Lord. So as far as this project goes, I'm one of the homeowners out there. And I don't need water because I have my own well. And we have a filtration system, works pretty good. Not the best, but it's doable. We could have repaired our septic system for right at about 10,000, not 27,000. And then another 18 on top of it. So I'm sorry, I'm a bit frustrated. Plus I'm nervous talking in front of y'all, so my voice is shaking, but that's my take on it.
No, and I mean, I definitely see that. I don't know how the other council members feel on it. That's why I think that we should hold a special meeting with you guys.
And I
You guys currently
appreciate
have
that.
water. I don't want to see you guys hit with that. It's just in an annex situation when you're expecting one thing, so.
Right.
You're already paying additional taxes on top of it. So I think that if we could all come together for a special meeting and really discuss this, that it would be much better than trying to come up with a half solution now.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
thank you. Well, then Donovan, that's what we'll do. We'll have a special meeting on that.
Okay.
And it's probably going to be an easier way to resolve it.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't gonna be decided upon tonight.
Yeah. Can we finish your deal, take a 15-minute break or a 10-minute break and then finish your report?
You're the mayor.
I know.
You just did.
I just said.
Hit the gavel.
We're gonna take a 15-minute break and we'll be coming back for more.
I'm not talking about you. I was just looking at you. Here we are. What are you here for? We want to know if we should stick around. I know, I was like, this looks funny. Yeah, great snack though. Yeah, in the water. Yeah. You're just scared. Yeah, you know. I'm just saying where I know. I still.
Zach, you got the date on the special meeting? I don't know, we, so.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how.
Oh, yeah. But anyway. Yeah. We really have to. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Donovan. I didn't mean to bring you worry.
No big deal. This has been a longer one.
I think so. I didn't watch the time, but they'll come in, I guess. I promise I won't do that to you again.
Don't even worry about it.
I know it throws a person, you know.
You already made me jump to the end. I was already on tiptoeing.
Kind of like me today, I was changing oil on my truck and I put it up on the hoist and pulled the drain plug on it and I thought, I got this because I had it right up by the drain plug. And that damn diesel, you know, it's got 2.5 gallons of oil in it. So when it comes out when it's hot. But I pulled that drain plug thinking I had that pan up there close enough. Don't you suppose the pan fell off? I had oil everywhere. Christ, I was covered with oil and the whole day went like that.
Yeah, I've had days like that. And then one thing gets out of whack and it just seems to just.
Oh, it just spirals, you know, and I thought, why did I even attempt this at this time, you know? And usually it's a quick thing. It's half hour and you're done and cleaned up, and not today. I went and used the hoist over at Montreal Builders instead of using my ramps in my shop on purpose. So it would go a little quicker, you know? Shit. If I'd have used my ramps in my shop, I would have been done in a half hour.
Right.
And I wouldn't have had oil everywhere.
Maybe it's not apples, but apples. So all this one, you know, what I'm saying is like $6.99 But I mean, we're doing 150.
Okay, Mrs. Kalen. You know, I'm getting old.
So then.
I did. Me too, and my bladder just ain't that big anymore. I can't go 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I can't. And then I sit and suck on that damn coffee the whole time, you know. Only one we're missing is Linda. Anna Lynn. One thing about it, the weather's been really good for the construction. Hot, but good. Call this meeting back in order. And Donovan, would you please continue?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. I guess I just wanted to touch, say my piece on the country estates thing. I realize that's a hard thing for those landowners. It's hard for anyone seeing that. But I will say, if this was started 3 years ago, you guys were just in here and you heard 2-3 people come in here about cost inflation. Just heard the pool talk about it was $1 million and now it's whatever it is, 30% more. I understand that's a hard thing, but an engineer's estimate is just that. Contractor's bid is just that. You don't pay them a lump sum, they get paid for the work that they do. Moving on to the capital improvements project with Wagner. So the concrete crew has been in here for only a week now. They've got concrete curb all the way up 3rd Street, spurred all the roads halfway. That's coming together fast. Since I put this map together on Friday morning, they've got another block of sewer in. They got 2 more blocks of road gravelled and geogridded, getting ready for curb. I was just talking to Tim before he came in here. They're looking at paving next week or the following week. So things are gonna start happening pretty fast. That blacktop sure goes down pretty fast. So one thing I wanted to talk about, just because it's a special circumstance, just the fact that it's a lead line. So at 309 First Street Southeast, we found a lead line. And I'll say during design, we talked about how all these curb stops aren't behind the curb where everyone wants them. They're 400 feet into someone's yard, or 10 feet past, in a retaining wall on the other side of a fence. So we talked about in the design that if there was a retaining wall or there was a fence or some other obstacle, we weren't going to go back and grab that old curb stop. We're going to leave it as where it's at. We're going to put a new one behind the curb. The city will own to the new one behind the curb. So now this one, we come up to it, find out that it's a lead line and the curb stop is maybe teetering right on the right of way. Maybe it's a little bit past, but there's a decorative wood fence, flagpole, some other stuff in the way. So most of these ones, if the curb stop was right at the right of way or just past the right of way, there was nothing our way. We went and got those, got them out of there, put a new one in. So in the letter to this landowner that they had a lead line, they wanted it replaced past the curb stop, even all the way up to their house. I said, well, all the way up to your house, you're going to have to talk to a contractor to do that. That's up to you to kind of negotiate. But I talked to Curtis about it. So that wood fence is over the right of way. And that curb stop is on the other side of the fence. So I told Curtis, unless you want me to try to get these guys to go get it, we're going to leave it. Thing that makes it weird is it's a lead line.
So you got to tie the lead line back on the other side of the curb stop. You're going to have a double curb stop.
There's 2 curb stops on that one line.
I guess. to keep them consistent. I guess I agree with that.
Okay. I'll
Is there
just.
any other comments on that?
So hang on, just to understand, we're gonna put a curb stop back in the right of way and it'll feed to their existing curb stop, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then our obligation is to that curb stop. The
You're
rest is
basically
theirs.
gonna have a double curb stop, but it's not a lot you can do about that.
Are we currently responsible for it up to the curb stop that there is right now?
Up to the curb stop. Well,
So if we're
you're
making
up,
our own curb stop, we're no longer liable for the rest of that way?
you're actually liable up to the right of way of the property.
Right, you can't own, if you don't have an easement past the right of way, you can't really own that. So that existing curb stop is past the right of way. Now, city's policy has always been to the curb stop, but the curb stop is supposed to be at the curb. So it's one of those weird things, and like I said, it's past the right of way. So it's not in the city's right of way, it's somebody else's property.
And if they wanted to get a contractor in there, basically when that's open, I wouldn't see a problem with that. I mean, wouldn't take a contractor very long to get rid of that. But
So
they should probably
up to
have
them.
that option, you know?
Yeah.
But you don't have to mess with the fence or anything else if you just go inside the curb, right?
No, so here's this fence, this white picket thing. Here's the existing curb stop.
Yeah.
So here's the road on this side. So here's the image right here. Here's the existing curb stop. Here's the right of way right on it. Here's your wood fence. Here's the new curb stop. Here's the new curb.
where's the lead?
So this was led all the way from the existing water main, which is running down the street. So this was a lead line all the way to right here where we stopped.
We don't know if it's lead.
So I don't know if
hers.
it's led to here or all the way to here.
Right. You know it's led up to the other curb stop.
It's very likely that it's led all the way up to that curb stop, I would say.
I'm sure, and probably all the way into the house. They usually work.
So like I said, it was a little bit weirder of a situation. The landowner wanted me to go further. There's a fence in the way. Kind of talked to Curtis. I said, you know, I remember the design, that's what we talked about. He said, yep, stick with that. If council wants to do something different, let them make that decision.
But basically, then we'd be disturbing private property then
Yep.
to dig it up.
I guess I would say that's the right way to do it. Put a new curb stop inside the curb, and they deal with it from that point on. I don't know how you can really do it any different. You can't go into somebody's yard, or you can't go into all the yards that far. And if it was a matter of a foot,
Like I said, if that fence wasn't there, we would have went and got that. We would have pulled that out of there.
And that
Can you-
homeowner wasn't willing just to cut off that portion of his fence to have that done?
Well, they wanted the contractor to do that. The contractor's like, I'm contracted to go to where it shows.
Yeah.
I want more money for that fence. I don't disturb private property. I've been sued
well,
over that.
he can't.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's got to go according to the plan.
Yep.
I realize the curb stop is there, but
And there's no legal ramifications. I mean, as long as we bring it up to our right of way, that's the city's obligation at that point.
well, the only thing I was ever worried about is that the state required the lead removed if we put in something new. And that was the only concern that I had is there anything on the books that say we have to remove the rest of it, or we can tie
No,
that lead
because
back on?
who's gonna pay for that?
Well,
Is the landowner gonna pay for that? And then you're gonna hit them with that special assessment? Do they have the funds to do that?
well, and I mean, that's the only way.
same, that's the same concept of it's
It
on
is.
their property, it's not your property. Who's gonna pay for that?
I just want to make
Is
sure
the
for
city or
easement,
them?
where the easement is, that we're at least covering, we're not leaving lead pipe and then we have to turn around and redo that portion anyways, because my concern, if
Because I know that there's the specific laws when it comes to lead pipe, and that's part of the thing with the what EPA and what they require. So are we gonna have to turn around and replace at the length of the easement, and it's just 2 more feet to do that, is what I'm wondering.
So everyone that I've talked to thought that I was handling it the right way. There's that fence there. You wouldn't go past that. You now own to that curb stop behind the curb.
Okay.
The city.
I personally think that's the right way to do it. Because, I mean, if they wanted to demo, or if they wanted to come out there and demo that fence and, you know, make those changes, but once you put that curb stop in, now it's kind of.
Right.
And this is
Different
leaving that
situation.
landowner in the same situation that they all are, that have lead lines, that they should replace it from their house to the curb stop. And where we're putting the curb stop is basically the same location as everybody else, right?
Right.
Right. So I guess I don't see a problem with the way it is.
Okay, so then I guess the only other thing I had on there included in your packet was the pay estimate number 4 to cover work done for basically the month of July, roughly $308,000. That's a lot of gravel, a lot of water pipe, sewer pipe. The next one's gonna have a lot of curb and concrete.
Do we need a motion to approve that pay estimate?
Yes, I'll
Yes,
make a
please.
motion to
Okay,
approve
second
that.
to the motion.
Second.
Okay,
I have a question real quick.
Yep.
Does any of this include those changes in the beginning that we tabled
Force.
for next month?
The changes in the beginning of this meeting,
Yeah,
the force majeure thing that
yeah.
the guy from Wagner was in here about, it does not. So contract, there's no language in the contract for that. That's tough. That's tough that they're out money there. That's the game that they're in. If fuel was high when they bid it and it went low, do you think they'd offer that money back to you? Okay. That's my take on that.
all of us that have been contractors have been through that. That's the way it is.
So yeah, to answer your question, George, no, that's not.
I just wanted to
Not
make
on
sure.
there.
Okay, so I've got a motion and a second by Lauren. And I'd like a roll call vote.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Moving on, the NDH shared path by Central Specialties. I know that project had kind of been sitting idle for a long time. That's because that's their fill-in project for their Highway 2. They were gonna lay gravel on Friday. They laid gravel on Friday and Saturday, got it ready to start paving. Started paving Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. They're gonna finish out there tomorrow. Concrete work and lighting is likely gonna come in the week of the 15th. The one thing that we're having a hard time finding, or they had a hard time finding, was the sanitary sewer force main that was supposed to be insulated. Some of you guys might remember the conversation of does the city want that insulated or not? It was decided that they would, but I think that the city's having a hard time finding that line
Well,
to get insulated.
is the city looking for it with their hydrovac?
So that was the last that I heard, was that the city was gonna find their line with the hydrovac. But just keep in mind that CSI has their own schedule.
But I guess the way I look at insulating those, like a force main, it's almost as fast to drop that force main as insulate it.
So-
Because you identify with a hydrovac, each end of it where it's up, let's say it comes up to 6 foot. It's damn near as cheap. You're excavating anyway. You have to excavate to insulate it. Why not just drop that line down a foot or 2 foot? over excavate when you're digging it. It's a force main. Grade don't matter. So I think it's a waste of money to put insulation on that. I think it's much better to just drop it.
Wasn't there a problem
Well,
last
yeah,
time? 'Cause
the issue is
where it was?
nobody can find it
Well,
to drop it.
well, I guess I can help them because I bet I can find it.
So that's,
Is that
they,
holding the project up right now? Is it?
no, they just stopped looking for it. And I think Chad was out there talking to them the day that I was gone, and
Yeah.
they were digging around for it.
I'd like to think between you and Chad, you'll find out. That's what he does for a living.
I can find the line. It's,
Give me a track, I'll hit everything. I can promise you I'll find it.
Yeah, so they were having a hard time finding it. I recommended, well,
Oh, some of them are.
maybe you guys should get a back truck.
some of them are
Maybe call
tougher.
Nick. I don't know.
Why there wasn't anytime you got something like that, why there isn't a locate line on it, a tracer line, I don't know. But everything we do from now on should have tracer wire in it. So, however, and like when we're putting in that stuff now, are we doing a GPS shot on top of that line so we know exactly where that is? On everything we put in, water, sewer?
Yeah, it's kind of hard. We are doing that, but when something's bored in, it's kind of hard to shoot the top of it.
It is when it's bored.
So, I
But
think this line,
that's with,
what people told me was that it was maybe bored in.
but with a tracer wire, then you have zero problem finding it. So I mean, if they're taping a tracer wire to it, and usually we put a double tracer wire on, so if one does break, you still have a tracer wire. But then you don't ever have a problem locating pipe.
Didn't they already get a gas line out there though? On that project?
Yeah, they hit a gas line. They hit an overhead line. That happens. Wagner's hit 3 of them, I think. Telephone line, all
Okay,
that stuff. But just wanted to give you an update on that project and let you know that they're having a hard time finding that line, so. The Highway Safety Improvement Project, Dakota Fence is installing pavement markings and signs. That one's moving along. I guess that was all I really had since Country Estates has went through, so.
okay. Well, appreciate it. Thanks for your report.
Yep, thank you.
Preliminary budget.
Okay, so the budget committee met yesterday morning at 9 a.m. Went through the preliminary budget. Some of the items that were discussed is we did put in for a $2 million transfer from the general fund to the municipal highway for possible maybe future repairs, street repairs. We also figured in a $2 million transfer from the general to the infrastructure fund. And that is just kind of for other contributions, or in the case if we decided to do a loan to the park board, which is kind of was the thinking behind it. Obviously, all the committees met based off of the employment committee's recommendations. Raises will be as followed, which are already figured into the preliminary budget. The chief of police position will start at $80,000. Then, of course, after a 6-month probation, raised to $82,000. The new police officer, once hired, would start at $50,000. The P&Z administrator, public works director, and city auditor would get a $2,000 increase to their annual salary. Hannah would be increased $2. Brady would be increased $1.50, along as well as Tuffy $1.50. Jean would increase 84 cents. These would be on their hourly wages. Brian would increase $1.08, and Ada would also be increased $1.08. Debbie Nichols, the clerk of court, would be increased 49%. Once we hire the new part-time office assistant, they would start at 22. John would increase 88 cents, and Chris Jenkins would increase 88 cents, and Demetrius would be increased, have an increase of $1,500 to his annual salary. And overall, what we'd be levying, there'd be no increase. We'd be at, our mills would be at 51.5, and that compared to last year, which was at 51.49. So there will not be an increase to our budget. Did I cover most of the high points, I think?
I think you did, yeah.
Okay, unless, I guess
As in-
either you or Zach had anything to add from the budget committee. I think I covered the majority of the high points.
I think you did. Is there any discussion on it, or? It is a preliminary budget.
Yes, just something to keep in mind. We'd have to do, set our hearing, our final budget hearing for September 13th. And just, I guess, something else to keep in mind that, I mean, we can still make changes between now and then. You just we can't increase.
I just saw it today, so if we're approving it as a preliminary, for now,
Preliminary.
then that's just fine, but I don't want to set it in stone until we have a chance to really go over the numbers. So motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Elaine, I'd like a roll call vote again.
Roll call.
Sorry.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Okay, that preliminary budget is approved then. North Dakota DOT progress bill, shared use pathway. Who's speaking on that? Anybody? I guess we did.
So this would actually be a bill that's part of, obviously, the shared use path project that's currently underway. This would be the city's portion that is not in the DOT's right of way, which was already stated that the city would have some costs.
Right.
This is construction and engineering, right?
I'm sorry?
It's construction and engineering in that bill, probably? I'm gonna abstain. I think there's engineering in there.
Sorry, I don't have a full understanding of their bill myself. I mean, I know the front page shows that there's construction, engineering, but it says estimate, and then it's giving times 100%. There's the sub project 2.
Were they actually asking for a pay request?
Yes, this is actually a pay request.
Yeah.
They call it a progress billing.
Yeah.
So in the amount of $17,665.41.
I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any other further discussion on it? Once again, it's a money thing. Let's have a roll call vote.
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Abstain.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Okay, let's move right on to gaming permits.
Okay, you'll see you had 2 originally in your packet. 2 more were submitted over the last couple of days. So the first one is to the Stanley Park District. That's for a sports pool from September 1st to February 14th.
Is that out at Sauber Sports Complex?
It's actually the football ones, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Second one would be for the Stanley High School girls basketball, and that's for a raffle from July 27th to August 13th, which is when their raffle date drawing will be held. The third one would be for the Bethel Home Auxiliary. As I informed her today, though, because they have both for bingo and raffle, as with the state having the new requirement, I told her I did need to have their raffle drawing dates. She said they were having a meeting tomorrow, so she will provide that information to me tomorrow so I can submit it to the state. Otherwise, the state will not accept it. And the last one would be also to the Stanley Park District, but this would be for a poker tournament on September 10th.
I will move to approve the one permit contingent upon that paperwork needed.
Are you lumping them all together in
Yeah.
your motion?
I
Okay.
am.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay, special event liquor licenses.
Okay, so you actually had 3 in your packet. One additional that was submitted yesterday. The first 2 are from the 5 spot, both for wedding, dance, reception, one being held on September 9th at the Fair Building, the other one on September 10th at the South Complex. The other one would be for the Leader Bar and Grill, which is also for a wedding reception on September 17th at the South Complex. And the last one would be for the Rustic Bean for a wedding reception also on September 17th, and that is at the Fair Building.
When we're looking at these, does the chief get a copy of these before?
Yes, as soon as they actually come in, and one of the girls usually, most of the time they bring them in, and we usually end up notarizing them, or the girls do. If not, but yeah, as soon as they come in, they always know to make a copy and give it to the chief.
Okay, that was my concern, I guess.
Because obviously, if they have to, they do a rent-a-cop,
Yep.
that, it's good that they know the location of the bar and.
In the temporary chief's opinion, is there any problem with these?
We won't have any problems with it. We'll make it work.
Okay.
Should be good.
Okay.
Motion to approve permits.
Second.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries. Employment Committee,
That would be me.
and that would be you.
Obviously, Employment Committee met to go over all the evaluations and submitted them to Lynn. We also discussed something the Police Committee had brought up about the amount of vacation days. We decided we're gonna monitor that, and there will not be any more rollovers. And this is how we got into this situation due to the wonderful COVID.
Yep.
So, we're looking to see where everybody's at November and probably do a buyout.
One-time buyout.
One-time buyout. They are allowed to roll over 12 days or 96 hours, I think it is. That's what, all they're allowed. So anything over that after December 31st would be a buyout.
To me, that sounds.
One time.
That sounds.
That's all I
really
got.
Logical to me, so.
I mean, we kind of created it with doing the rollovers, but so did COVID.
Well, and they're could be some issues, I mean, if we're short-staffed for a while
Yep.
here as well.
Yeah, they're not allowed to take the vacations
No.
either,
I
so
mean,
I don't think they
makes it
should be
kinda difficult.
penalized.
You better work, but you can't take any time off.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Okay. Really, that was just information. We don't need a motion on anything there, Linda, do we?
No.
So, okay, let's have the police committee.
So I think I'll just cover that. So on the committee recommendations, we had a little back and forth about squaring up the temporary chief of police position because of the added responsibilities for the interim. So we spoke, and the number was about $1,500 a month between what the base pay was versus what the chief was getting. So the recommendation in the interim is to bring Demetrius up to $1,500, an additional $1,500 per month for the interim chief responsibilities. And then we'll reserve the right to prorate this in the case of it landing on a partial month. And then this will expire upon the new chief start date. So that was, did I get that right, Linda?
Yep.
Basically bringing him up $1,500 to pay him for the additional responsibilities as he's acting in that. And then as soon as that date expires, just prorate that $1,500. It's pretty easy math.
Exactly.
And it just start as of the day that he became intern.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I don't know if that needs a vote or not, or
I
just
think it
more
does,
information.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we need a motion.
so I guess I'll second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. There, I want a roll call vote again.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George.
Perfect.
Clear for you, is that easy enough for you, Helene? I mean, as far as, you know what we're saying then on the books?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And the other recommendation from committee was bringing Dylan up to 56,000 per year. I believe that's the number, right?
Yep.
Just looking at some of the neighboring communities and stuff, and we want to stay competitive. We want to keep a good force. We want our force to be, So that is the committee recommendations. And those are the only two things that I had to bring forth. And I don't know if that needs a vote as well.
Yes, it does.
I'd make a motion to approve it.
And I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. Once again, any other discussion? If there's no discussion, Alin, could you please?
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously, so. Okay, police report.
Good evening. I'll try to keep this short. So just kind of an update. We're down to 3 officers right now due to one being out till the end of August for medical. With that being said, we did interview on July 19th, and we'd like to get an approval to hire Andrew Metz. And like Lynn said, we'd like to start him out at the $50,000 a year with the $3,000 increase after that 6-month probationary period.
I would make a motion to approve the new officer.
Second.
Linda's made the motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Ty? There can be discussion now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Lauren.
Okay, is there any discussion on this? If not,
Oh.
You will provide me with his name for my minutes, though, please?
Andrew Metz.
METZ, Mike, that goes into
This is him, by the way, if you guys wanted to ask him
do
questions.
you have to hire all 7-foot people?
I'll try to.
Some of us weren't really blessed that way.
Does mean we have to buy another truck?
I think he'll fit in Explorer. Should be good. But he's here if you guys want to ask him questions, talk to him.
Hi, Andrew. Welcome.
Thank you.
But
Yeah,
he is
welcome addition.
post certified, so we'll be able to get him into the FTO process and get him out there right away. So
We need to vote.
Yeah, we do. So I would like a roll call vote on this as well.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And then, just to touch base on a couple of things, we're expecting our new tasers to be here August 22nd. Once they get here, we'll have a 6-hour in-service training day to get certified on those. So we'll be able to get those out in the field.
And Linda has volunteered, you know. Oh, you didn't?
I thought you did.
No, you're on the committee. So I'll come and watch.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
I'm sure you guys seen we did get our pickup. We're just waiting on the rest of the internal parts to come. We're expecting that to be the end of August, beginning of September for the cage center console. But it is fully operational, light sirens, all that stuff. I spoke with Guardian today. They're expecting to receive the vehicle by the end of August. Then they'll be able to start building that and get it to us within that month, I hope. They did come down and pick up the 214s that we had sold to them. So they have those in their possession. We had a meeting with the school last week. They're asking for more patrol presence during school hours, as well as having the canine in the school more this year. With that being said, I did talk to them about the idea of presenting an SRO to the school. The school was on board with it, so we're gonna come back and meet with them to try and decide on a way to work it out within their budget. Some options that we had were we could provide the officer for a year, and then after that year's up, if that's something that they want to keep, we could look at them paying for the officer's salary.
Is that a full-time officer placed in the school?
That'd be a full-time officer in the school.
I'm all for that.
In the summer, they would go to a street cop too.
Right.
so-
Yeah, so in the summer, we'd be able to utilize them as
In
another.
the event, if something major happened in Stanley, that guy can, you know, he's still a cop and he's still in Stanley.
Or
But
she.
She.
Or she.
She.
Or
yeah.
she.
He or she.
He or she.
He or she, Linda.
Yes.
Or it.
Them.
So with that, I did reach out to one of the SROs in Newtown and kind of asked how they started their program. And he said that they started that year, they provided the officer. After that year, they came up with an MOU with the school as far as the school would pay for that officer's salary. The city would provide the benefits for the officer as well as the equipment. Or we could touch base on something where they pay for half of it, we pay for the other half.
I did talk to the county too, and he was willing to talk about having a presence there as well. You know, or part of it, you know, maybe the city does 2 or 3 days and they do a couple days or something like that. So that might be a lane that you might want to investigate a little bit too.
Okay.
If it's not easy, then I'd say, you know, we don't need to go that road, but it's something to talk about.
So that's kind of what we're working on so far. We also did interview another individual, and depending on what happens tomorrow, we'll be looking at hiring another.
Yeah.
So
I want to touch base on that. So we did interview a second candidate who was fantastic, who also had interest in becoming an SRO officer. Currently, we are at a weird place with the police department. We have, well, frankly, we have one officer who is making it very difficult for the rest of the officers regarding schedule. I think that we are doing such a disservice to these officers that are in the room. They have been working insane hours due to somebody who's upset with the city. I think that I think that it would be not fair to them. And I know that we have another officer coming on and we have the chief position opening up, but for our community, we're talking about growth and bringing people in and funding the pool, and that's fine and dandy, but it's not going to be great when we have no police force. I can't imagine working these guys any more than what we're doing and not giving them some additional help. I would like to see us work towards getting that additional officer on.
I think right now they're at such a skeleton crew and they're doing a fantastic job, but we are, I mean, they're kind of drowning in their hours and their schedule. It's really unfair. Even with the chief, if we still even get a chief, it's still not looking good. It's hard to have a great police force when you're understaffed. And if we have one officer who worked 4 days last month and is taking this entire month off, and I know that we're
That's kind of
budgeted
my
for so many.
schedule.
What?
That's kind of my schedule. I work like 4 days and then.
Right? As being retired, not, and I get if you're mad at the city or you're mad at us because you weren't chosen for a chief interview, but I mean, it puts them in a bad spot. He's not being a team player with the rest of the officers, and he's not hurting me per se, he's hurting them on the schedule. And I can't imagine that we're going to be able to keep officers if we don't.
He did have a
Get them
doctor's,
staffed.
I want to mention, he does have a doctor's excuse, right?
Yeah, he did provide doctor's notes
Okay.
saying that he was going to be out for that length of time.
There was a doctor's note. The circumstances of the doctor's note changed after there was a denial of interview. And there was 2 days later, a longer doctor's note, not saying, I mean, it's a doctor's note, but there was no pre-schedule. I'm going to be gone these days. I have a surgery coming. Nothing, just left everybody in the water. We're working with 3 officers. So we do have another candidate who would love to get on. I'd like to see us push to hiring another officer sooner than later.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Any other discussion on the police report?
That's all I got.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the police report? I need a second. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, attorney updates. Do we have any attorney updates?
The only update I have for you guys is I had a conversation with Curtis earlier this week regarding possibility of Dirty Diesel Repair seeking to have water and sewer services extended out to his property. The new owner, Josh Nichols. Curtis wanted me to bring this up to you and see what your guys' take was on it, whether the city would entertain in creating some type of special assessment district, participate in some type of cost, or just simply state that should the property owner want to have those services, those costs would be on him. And maybe there could be some type of a recapture agreement, possibly if other property owners ended up tapping into that same line, almost similarly to like a public-private improvement, or public-private partnership situation. You don't have to make any decision necessarily tonight. I just wanted to bring the issue up to you, let you know that I talked with Curtis on this. I think from our perspective, it would either be creation of a special assessment district, or alternatively just have that private owner pay for the cost of the extension. So not necessarily anything you need to decide tonight, but maybe you guys can think about it. We can bring it back up here next month.
I didn't look at it even.
Mayor, may I make a comment? Mayor,
Okay.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Sure.
Okay, so obviously you see that I sent the email to Jordan. I had originally, Curtis and I had discussed this because Josh had come in, had contacted Curtis.
Yep.
And asked what it would involve, to get connected into water and sewer. Because obviously when Multicam got annexed in, they never made a request or, attempted to get connected to water or sewer. As Jordan told me after my discussion with Jordan, that obviously, yes, for them to get connected is fully their responsibility. That's why I've mentioned of the special assessment. I mean, that is a possibility. I don't foresee setting up a special assessment district for one individual, though. I mean, and Jordan and I discussed maybe having a conference call between myself, Jordan, and Josh Nichols, just to kind of discuss options as well and what he's, you know, because I didn't have the original discussion with Josh. Curtis obviously did.
There is water and sewer
It,
in that
it's,
road.
it does sound like there is. The water might not be such an issue, but from what Curtis was telling me, that getting access to connect him into the sewer might be more of an issue. But like I said, I don't know the full details. This is just, you know, so that's kind of why Curtis asked if Jordan would bring this up tonight, at least to make the council aware, but like I said, Jordan had talked about me doing a phone conference between myself, Jordan, and Josh, just to further discuss this. So if the council was okay with that, and then maybe this could just be brought up again next month.
And I don't have any problem with that, so.
Okay.
But I do think that, there's water and sewer out there, and the old two-way in used to be out there, and they were tied into sewer, so I can't see where there would be a big issue, because that's lower actually than where Dirty Diesel is.
And I mean, and I guess the other case, which you'll see, I also made kind of the question there in my email, that if, say, they decide that if it was going to be an issue to get connected or more of an expense to get connected to the sewer, would we still require them to connect into it? Because obviously there's a septic tank there. That's how Multichem, you know, obviously ran their business before, with a well and a septic tank before.
We have other septic tanks in town. I don't know how we could, turn them down on that.
And obviously it's been that way since, you know, since 2009, so, but
I know we have others operating in town now, so.
okay. But like I said, I just wanted to state what Jordan and I had discussed as well, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, any other comments from the attorney?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Council concerns? Any concerns?
I mean, I guess a couple. I know I had talked to Chad about a couple of them too. I'm not sure, he's not here today, if he was gonna bring those up at the next one, but it was on that demolition, the demolition fees and those, I guess, variance fees. I don't think that we should charge people for putting a sign in front of their businesses. I know Amanda made a point about keeping the permit itself, because that way we can have a regulation to make sure it's something that would be appropriate and not a danger, but I don't think that we should be charging a fine for something that is making an improvement. And I also don't think that if somebody's going to tear down an old building, that we should be charging them a demolition fee. And I know Amanda wanted to keep the permit for that one because she said that she talks to them about utilities and whatnot connected to it. But I feel like if somebody's willing to get rid of an old ratty building that's an eyesore, that we shouldn't charge them $100 to do so.
I agree with that. I mean, I think if you're gonna make property look better, you should almost be rewarded for it rather than fine, or, you know, we have to pay a penalty for it. But I also agree with Amanda on the signs that I think there has to be approval for some of the signs simply because you want to know what they're going to say and what they're going to look like.
Absolutely. So, and I understand, come in, do your permit, but I don't think that we should take $100 for her to say, this looks great,
No,
where are you going to put it?
And I don't care about the money part of it, but I do think, I do think the city has to approve of what's on that sign, or they can put up anything.
Absolutely. So I think that we should keep the permits, but we should do away with those fees. And I think that that variance fee too, we charged $100 to the last person who came in to say that they didn't want to plant grass because it was too steep of a slope. I can't justify taking $100 from somebody just because they wanted to say, hey, can I not have grass here? But I just don't think that we should charge those, or a variance fee when they want to ask about, they want their fence to be a different way. I don't think that we should charge $100 to shoot them down and say, nope.
To change any of this on the variances, though, doesn't it have to be advertised?
2 votes.
You have to have 2 votes, right? But you have to bring it up, vote on it, and then at the following meeting, you have to vote on it again, right? And in order for it to be, you have to give the public a chance to have a voice.
Well, I would like to make a motion to remove the fees for demolition, signs, and variance permits. Keeping the permits, doing away with those 3 fees. I think that they're.
Elaine?
I do have one comment. These fees are originally set by the Planning and Zoning Commission. They do have, yes, obviously come from final approval by the council, but I do feel this is something that you should bring back to the P&Z Commission, because obviously these are ones that they oversee, and obviously they get paid a monthly fee, for their monthly meetings. So I guess just something that, maybe give consideration to the P&Z Commission to maybe look at and further discuss as well.
I'd still like to make the motion now, and I feel like I can meet with them at their next meeting and discuss it, but if we have to do a double vote on it, I understand that they take fees, but I think nickeling and diming on these 3 things, that I don't think if somebody's paying to have their building improved, because they obviously put the money into a building, we raise their taxes, we're taking stuff there, and then we're gonna charge them for a sign. I can't, after seeing that, I can't imagine, and I can't imagine saying, hey, I want to do rock instead of grass here, that we charge somebody $100 to bring that to our 2 seconds of time to look at it and say, well, that's silly. I didn't even know that we needed a variance for that. So here I am sitting on council, not even knowing that we need that, but yet we're going to charge them $100 for it. So I would like to make a motion to remove those. I will meet with P&Z, and I guess after it goes to that second one.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Okay, for clarification, I want to know which permit fees exactly you're referring to. Obviously, I know you mentioned variance and the demo.
Variance, demo, and the sign permit. And just the fees. The permits can stand.
Okay.
Quick clarification, is that business signs or all signs?
Well,
Is that what I'm saying?
they're all signs.
I guess because there's also figured into with the sign permit, you also think about if anyone ever puts up like a billboard.
Right. I know at one point there's a lot of discussion on the council about billboards up at the highway, those kinds of things, and that was part of the reason why there was that fee, because there's a lot of discussion back and forth with the P&Z committee because of those signs. That'd be one of those situations where they made everybody equal instead of charging a few.
I'm going with all signs. I just think that if the billboard is not approved, then it still doesn't get approved through the permit process. But I can't imagine if somebody's putting up a sign that we're still going to turn around and say, hey, we're going to take this money from you. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with these little shops in town charging them fees every single time that they want to put up. We see new businesses popping up and we're going to fee them every time. So the check cashing place, if the new restaurant wants to put up a sign, but it's that much of a fee on top of, then they just don't do the sign and we end up with crappy signs. I don't want to see that.
Okay, motion on the table. Is there a
I
second?
can get behind that, though. I agree. I don't like standing in the way of progress of cleaning stuff up. I can get on board with that.
Are you making a second?
I am seconding that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call on that.
Have some
Lauren?
discussion.
Yeah.
Discussion on that.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we'll move the discussion on it. I'm sorry.
I would vote for it. I don't think we should have the fees. I just think that there's a little more to it, and planning and zoning maybe should weigh in on it. The one with not be, having to have grass in the boulevard, in my opinion, that we shouldn't remove the fee. We should change the ordinance and not even require a variance for it. So I mean, I guess I would just rather have a little more discussion and some planning and zoning input on it, because I think we might have to go a step farther than just removing the fees.
And I agree on those. We can look at those small things, but I'm just saying, like, most of these variances in general, they're just something that's small and it's either a quick approval or denial. And I don't mean to say quick, because I know that there's going to be some instances where it's some out of control thing, but for them coming and saying, I want 2 additional feet on my yard, and we charge them, are they charged the $100 just turning in the application even after it's approved or denied? So we just charge somebody.
If it's denied, they get
You're
their
gonna
money
refund?
back.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna keep their money.
But $100 for us to approve that rock and whatnot, and those are ones that we can change, but I just don't think that we need to, when people are making improvements, it costs so much. I try my best to shop at Stanley Lumber. I want to keep it in town. I want to do that, but are we gonna just nickel and dime them on top of saying, hey, shop local, hey, shop this, and then be like, we also want this on top of it? We didn't really have to do anything, and it improves the community, brings in more people when they see nice things, but let's hit them with all these additional fees. I just heard 2 businesses say that they weren't gonna put up a sign or make a change because the costs, all the additional costs, and they just don't think that they think it's petty and they're just making points, and I don't necessarily disagree with them.
I understand what Lauren's saying, but I take a little bit of offense to it because I'm the one that does those things with those permits. So it's not that we're doing nothing with them. That's literally what you guys pay me to do. So I am putting in work to do those things, to check them, to talk with property owners. Like, it's not nothing.
And I don't
We
mean
are,
it
so
in
I
a-
mean, you guys are getting your money's worth when you're getting those permits, when you're getting those fees. It is me doing work, it's Hannah doing work, it's either Ada or Lynn doing work. All of us are doing. So I mean, you guys are earning those $100 permits for whatever it may be.
I'm not disagreeing that there's work that goes into it, but I think that there's a time to charge fees on things and a time that we don't charge fees on things. And I know that it goes into it, but it's not going to pay. Those additional things are not paying anybody's salary. They're not making such a big difference that we'll be without, or we'll look at the budget and think, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to afford to pay this because of this fee. And you guys do great work. And we know that you check it out and you look at it, and you guys always have pictures to show us. I'm not saying that, but you're still going to get your hourly wage.
Right. But the city's also a business.
And our tax dollars are going to pay salaries when we do our original levies, but then we're going to hit them with a little bit extra on top of it. I understand that fees can be good for some things. Building permits and whatnot, there's a lot that goes into that. You do a lot when it comes up to things like that, checking in. I know we call you and drive you crazy. I know I've called you and drove you crazy a lot of stuff, so I understand when you have it for that. But there's a few things that make a big enough improvement and difference that I don't think that we should charge for it, and those are the things that I just don't. When I think about my improvements and the things I would want to do, and I look at that, and I just think, nah, I'm not going to tear down a shed for it to cost me $100, or I'm not going to, but I don't mind calling and saying, hey, there's no utilities. You want to come out and check, filling out a permit for it. But I don't want to nickel and dime people when they're trying to make things nicer, I guess is what I'm going for. And if we want to do an exclusion of billboards because that's an issue or it brings in revenue for big buildings, then I would be willing to say excluding billboards to change that motion.
Well, there's been a motion and a second.
You just amend that to exclude.
I'd like to amend that to exclude.
Well, there's been no actual full vote on it, so you can still actually change the motion.
Then I'd like to change the motion to reflect no billboard, to not include billboards in that, but the rest of it, I don't think that we should remove the fees.
I mean, is this vote to redirect P and Z to look at those 3 areas mentioned? Is that kind of what the vote is?
Well,
To drop the fees on,
we have to
unless
do
you
the vote
change that.
twice, so I guess this one is to set it in motion, and then I'll still, hopefully, we'll meet with P&Z on it, and then, the next meeting, revote on the same thing.
Okay. So it's not actually to do anything but discuss this at the next meeting. We're actually
Discuss it with P and Z.
with P&Z, but she's gonna do that in the interim. But at the next meeting, when we vote on it, it'll actually take effect. Is that
Yep,
your understanding?
that's my understanding.
Now, is that regardless of what P and Z has to say on the subject?
Well, yeah. I'm gonna
Well,
say
either
yeah.
that or she'll drop it at the next one, so.
I mean,
You can make another motion at the next meeting.
I respect what planning and zoning has to say, and I think that they do a great job. I'm not trying to take away from anything that they are doing. I'm just saying, I don't want to tax our citizens on it any more than they're already getting hit with small things. And I know that they have certain fees, but we also have it all here in the preliminary budget on what we have. So I'm thinking that those are just small things that we can do without.
Mary?
Mr. Mayor, since this is an ordinance, I think you actually need something drafted by your attorney for you to vote on.
The attorney doesn't have anything to do with ordinances.
Changing ordinances, you need something in front of you.
Shouldn't have to, no. It's a city council ordinance. The city council approves the ordinances. I don't believe if we're talking about a state statute or something like that, yes. I think you have to have an attorney's opinion, but on a city ordinance, the way it was explained to me, you don't.
I was just thinking that generally when you amend ordinances, you refer to the attorney for them to draft something for you to vote on, so that you don't have unintended consequences. That's all I'm saying, and I'll sit back.
But we're still keeping all of those same things
There
except
are
for 8
unintended
feet.
consequences. Because variances don't necessarily apply to something that's simple. There are other cases where variances apply.
So just to make a comment, Mayor, I guess on what Mary's saying is that, yes, I agree. Normally, when we decide we're going to amend an ordinance, you always have your attorney draft it up so that you have the proper legal verbiage within that amendment.
But you give that verbiage to the lawyer. I mean, you change the way
I mean, yes, you can specify what you're looking to amend,
exactly.
but he does up all the legal verbiage, for that amendment, and then it's brought before the council. You do your first reading and then your second reading. So,
And that's my understanding of the 2 votes. It isn't just 2 votes. It's a reading and then it's publicized.
Right.
So I don't think this vote counts, in my opinion. I think we gotta have it
Yeah.
publicized. I think it has to be
Because you need to make sure.
on the agenda,
referencing
but
Which section of your ordinances, et cetera.
Yeah. So maybe the vote is to redirect P and Z to come up, I don't know what our motion actually is then, is
Can
it?
Jordan is he still on the line? Can he draft something for next meeting?
That's what I was recommending.
I don't think he's there.
Jordan?
Jordan,
Yeah, no, I'm here, but I'm having.
you guys got to get up to your
trouble hearing,
microphones.
That was my fault, Mr.
No, just wondering if you can
I
draft.
was having trouble hearing some of the commentary. Is this a resolution or is it an actual ordinance?
It's an actual ordinance.
Okay. So then we'd have, what type of motion, if you're gonna look to amend the ordinance, I would just probably move, direct, the city attorney to work with the city auditor, amend the ordinance pursuant to the discussion herein tonight, and coordinate with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Something to that effect.
That's the motion.
If I'm following the discussion correctly.
Yeah. Basically, I think what she's trying to get at is she wants to keep the ordinance in place, just drop the fees on 3 specific areas, demolition permits, variances, and sign permits, but excluding actual billboards from this, where the billboards would stay the same fee structure. Basically, the ordinance stay the same, as I understand it. Just we wouldn't charge a fee. We'd still have to get a permit to get a sign approval, but there just wouldn't be a fee likewise with the demolition permit, you'd still need the permit, no fee, and then variance, right?
Right. And I guess non-commercial, like let's, non-commercial demolition, like residential things. I don't know how to word that, but I think I'm trying to get my point that I don't think that we need $100 fee to tell somebody that they have to take down a shed or.
No, and I think people are in agreement with you on that, but
This was done
given the
right.
confusion on it, let's think about it
Okay,
till the next meeting. There's not a rush to change this. Let's think about this till the next meeting and actually come with something written down actually of how we want to change it. And we'll get the right way to do it, probably. I mean, because I don't know for sure, like Mary said, you know, I mean, if you got to have the verbiage changed, you got to have it changed by him. So if it's just dropping the fees, I can't understand really, there isn't much verbiage to change there, but, you know, it's, let's make sure we get our ducks in a row.
I think we'll get the right result. I just
Right.
feel
Okay.
it's done right.
So
Okay, so
we're taking that motion off the
Motion.
table, and I'm not sure how to do that.
I guess we'll just have to.
Will you withdraw your motion?
They'll withdraw.
yeah,
and-
withdraw the motion because we still haven't
Okay.
actually done a physical
haven't
vote
voted.
on it, so.
Right. So, okay. And then we have the judge's report. It's,
You're still on council concerns.
huh?
You're still on council concerns.
I can't,
You were still on council concerns, I think.
yeah, I was, but I thought we moved out to that. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's right for me. Sorry.
Yeah, nothing for me.
I just want to commend the public works and all employees of the city, the officers. It's been a really tough time, and I think we're all going to come out a lot stronger with this kind of new direction we're heading. So I just wanted to give everybody at the city, you know, working extra hours and shortage manpower. I don't really know how to express into words how much that is appreciated. So that's my 2 cents.
I have no concern.
Yeah, I guess I want to touch base on the lack of an attorney at the table. I know he brought it up earlier, but I guess I would just soon have an attorney at the table versus over the phone where it's difficult to understand him. He has difficult understanding us if we're not in front of the mic. So I guess, I don't know, they're called babysitters, but I think we're paying a fee for an attorney. And I would like to see an attorney at the table. And that's my concern.
I agree with that. Any other comments about that?
I agree with that also, I guess.
Okay. George, you have any other concerns?
It was brought up to me last week, as not a council member, but there's some confusion between the post office and putting in mailboxes and what we're allowed to do city-wise versus our ordinance or et cetera. So I think we should invite the postmaster to come to a meeting to discuss that so that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, wouldn't have a problem with it.
Amanda has something.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi, just to let you guys know, we did, as the city employees, put an ordinance in front of you regarding post office boxes, and you guys did not approve that. So we do not have an ordinance with the city for mailboxes. So basically, whatever the post office wants them to do is what they're allowed to do, unless you guys would like either that draft brought back up so that you guys can review it or go in a different direction. But we have no city ordinance regarding mailboxes,
I would like that brought
which
back
is
up.
why they are popping up everywhere and in the way.
Yeah, when
And
post
not
office
on
goes to-
property owned by them.
Yeah.
And
So-
they're in flower
But-
pots and
But the post
steel
office
wheels
was
and-
actually telling them where they had to have them.
No, they don't.
They did, and yes, in our case, on our street, they did. And it wasn't on their property that they were telling them to put them, because they wanted them all on the north side of the street, so it's easier for them to drop off their mail.
Well, you walk down the one street and I mean, big old planter with a mailbox sticking out of it and.
Or putting our big shared use pathways in that are gonna be nice walking paths, all those kinds of things, and then we have
Well, I'd love to have one,
flower
except
pot
that they
and
never
a steel
close
wheel
them,
that we
so.
can't get around on one corner. So I just want, that's my input, I guess.
Okay. If there's no other council concerns, everybody got a chance to look at the judge's report?
I'd make a motion to approve the judge's report.
Second.
I'll second that, or I'll vote on that. Been a long day. All in favor of approving the judge's report?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yep, pay the bills.
We got to pay the bills, yeah.
I thought we hit the bottom. Oh, bills.
I'd make a motion to pay the bills.
I suppose there's gonna
I'll
be
second
people that
that.
would like that, wouldn't they? Okay, there's been a motion by George, a second by Linda to pay the bills. Any discussion? Is there any problem with any of them? Have you looked them over? If there's no discussion,
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach, Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Jordan, or
Aye.
George, sorry.
George.
Aye.
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I was wondering if you would. And George, did you second it?
A second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Come on, Mary, speak up.